mornings from 7 to 10. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus and Marcus. Here are your hosts, Brett Scott Scoresworthy and Ryan Davis.
Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Landon Schmidt producing, as always. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. A lot to get to. It is conference tournament time. It's been going on, but now really every conference getting started that hadn't started before today. So we're going to talk a ton of college basketball over the next 3 hours. A lot about the Tigers and what they'll be doing over the next couple days in the American SEC tournament getting kicked off. Already one game final in Nashville. We'll talk a ton of SEC over the next 3 hours. We'll also have to talk Grizzlies. They're in action tonight against the Utah Jazz. It'll be the first game that is simulcast on Action News 5 as well in Nashville and Knoxville. So that will be a lot of fun tonight. But plenty to get to over these next 3 hours. Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Brian. Why am I so excited? I'm not going to watch it tonight on Channel 5 because I'm going to be at the building.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of turning it on Channel 5 and watching the game. I've got 649.2 on the DirecTV machine. Why does this excite me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because I feel the same, and I
Three
won't
letters,
get the game.
OLD?
Well, no, because I'm YONG, and I'm excited about it, but I think it's just because it's different. And
Welcome to the
we're
Scripps
excited.
Howard Spelling Bee.
Yes, well, you heard me stutter there. I had to kind of second guess how to spell young, but no, I mean, I am definitely tonight, and like you said, there's not going to be a difference. I mean, for me, I don't.
Our guys that we're familiar with,
yeah.
pre, during game, post.
And see, I have streaming.
I call it Rob
service.
Fisher TV.
Yeah, Rob Fisher TV, RF TV. But I have streaming, and so when I go onto my television, it's DirecTV Stream. I just click, it's a Grizzlies logo. I click that and it brings up the game. So I'm curious tonight, will it bring up FanDuel Sports Network? Will it bring up Action News 5? I'll definitely go to Action News 5, though, and just see it. It's going to look the same. Commercials will be different, but everything else will be the exact same. But I think to just have it there, I think will be cool to see.
Already a ratings, popularity juggernaut. Mm-hmm. Channel 5, their 10 o'clock news, all their newscasts and their shows. But I think it can only help with
for sure.
Grizzlies' interest there and all but leading right into 10 o'clock news.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is, I mean, you already have people there. They'll get done watching Grizzlies. They'll get done watching postgame. And then, the idea is you'll go straight into the news. And that'd definitely be fun. I think it'll keep a lot of people.
We could ask Darian Newsom this. I wonder what they will fill with if they have that protracted break in between.
It's a good question.
Grizzlies' actual game ends 9:20, 9:25. Sure. Post ends about 15, 20 minutes later. That could be awkward.
Yeah, no, that could.
I don't know, but I know they got a handle on it.
For sure. And, that will be a
question
for Darian. I know he is he's helping out a bunch with that. On
Guarantee he knows
Action News 5 in. So, yes, I'm positive that he knows the answer to that. So we'll definitely ask him. But it's a good question.
Good start to the day, really across the country with games. Arkansas let a big lead slip away, held on at the end to top South Carolina. What an improvement over 2 Saturdays ago, and I thought it would be. Wasn't surprised by the big lead they held early, and wasn't surprised with South Carolina rallying late. I think a little bit of it. Flag the tape here, making slight excuse for John Calipari. I think a little bit of it, John Calipari, with that short bench,
definitely
knowing it potentially could be a long week in Nashville.
Hoping it could be a long week,
right. Playing a little bit of a long game, and kind of played with that lead, and it got too close, but Arkansas won, win in advance is all you got to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this time of year there are there are no bad wins, only bad losses, and that would have been a loss that you wouldn't want to have if you were Arkansas. I mean, you talked about it. March 1st, it was a terrible first half, and now today it was not so great second half. It kind of flip-flopped. I saw they threw this up at halftime of the game. In the first half on March 1st, Arkansas had 14 points at half. They were negative 18-point differential, 13% from the field, and 0 for 8 from 3 today. 48 points, plus 17-point differential, 55% from the field, and 5 for 13 from 3. So much better today than they were on March 1st.
And Arkansas, with that very limited guys John Calipari can turn to, 7, 8 max dressed, with all the get-back guy, quarter zip guys, little chair guys.
Right, yeah.
They've got about 15 of those and about 8 people in uniform.
Yeah, let's get some of those guys to suit up. I mean, any of y'all got eligibility left? Let's get them out there. And they're
I bet
dealing with
some
a
of
couple
them go through
injuries.
practice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're the practice players.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tyler Eulis is on the bench. I mean, I guarantee you he's out there running some scout-o. But, no, I mean, a good win for Arkansas. They'll advance now. They'll see Ole Miss tomorrow. That will be the first game of the day in Nashville. We'll have that game right here on Sports 56. So, yeah, good win for Arkansas. I think, that would have been one. You don't want to lose that one to a South Carolina team that, I know 12-20 overall in the season, 2-16 in SEC play.
Beat Clemson.
But, yeah, they sure did. And they fought. I mean, I go back, especially at home. There were a lot of games that ended up being losses for them at home against some really good teams. I go back to it. Auburn lost by 3 points. Vanderbilt lost by 3 or 4 points. Same thing against Florida at home. I mean, they played a lot of these teams really, really close. I think we talk about it every single week with Blake Lovell, but it just feels like they're 1 or 2 players short of kind of being able to do something, and now their season comes to an end. But on the other side, Arkansas, they keep on keeping on in the SEC tournament.
7-7, Texas Vanderbilt tied. Earl Campbell over from the 1-yard line. Happy Feller extra point was good, and Vanderbilt with a Jay Cutler touchdown pass to Earl Bennett, and the extra point was good. So 7-up.
We're getting the names out there.
Got to get some football. One of the great names of the 70s, the Texas kicker name, Happy Feller.
It's a good name.
Great name.
It's a great name. It's a really good name. So, we'll definitely keep an eye on this game. And obviously, for Texas, I think Vanderbilt feels decent about where they're at right now.
Literally down the street.
Yes, certainly. I mean, a home game for them. But Texas right now, I know they flashed up on the screen a couple of times. But right now, according to Joe Lunardi, he has them in his first 4 out. So, Texas would like to win a game or two here, kind of go on a little bit of a run to try to feel good about Selection Sunday right now on the outside. So I think this will be a fun game, kind of a game that we could see go down to the wire and 2 teams really fighting, 2 bubble teams.
Dateline, Denton, Texas at the Super Pit.
Man.
Have you checked in?
I was keeping an eye on it. I never got eyes on it, but I was keeping up with
you
the
weren't
score.
alone. Nobody else had eyes on it there in Denton.
No, I did not watch. I'm seeing Charlotte won 61 or 64-61. A wild game. I mean, Charlotte kind of came out hot, and then it was Rice, and then, it was kind of back and forth. But I guess Charlotte stays alive, and Rob Lanier, year 1, out early in the AAC tournament.
Would it be too much just to tell a team that comes in 13th, your season's over?
Yeah, your season's done.
Automatically merge 12 into the bracket.
Yeah, it'd be easy.
No Wednesday game.
Brad, I don't know if you've looked at this. Oh, jeez. Attendance on ESPN.com for the Charlotte-Rice game. Would you like to take a guess?
All right, first of all, I would imagine they have to be brutally honest and no skin count dynamic.
I would say brutally honest, yes.
I have not looked. It's total guess. Listed in the box score, 617.
You are only about 200 more than what is announced. 497 listed as the attendance on ESPN right now.
Ooh.
So, again, why are we playing this game?
I missed it by 120.
You did.
But I went over, and you lose.
You lose, yeah.
Price is right.
Yeah. Got to go. That's good. That was a good sounder for it. 497.
Were they made to go?
I would love to know how many were parents and friends.
497.
497. How much was the band? Did a band show up? Did we count like one of the spirit teams?
I just wonder. Is that and they should at those tournaments. You should count everybody under the roof. Security, popcorn popper, everyone. Wow.
Well, you'd have 50 more if you counted all the get back coaches and
a lot of get back
analysts and all that stuff on the bench.
I mean, the quarter zip crowd.
Less than the American, though, so that's a little better. SEC, I mean, you got full rows of
the chair setup people.
Sure do. Oh yeah, I mean, it's like watching NASCAR. I mean, when they go out there and you got to do the pit times real quick.
And you think they had little chair people at that game?
They had a manager probably set it out. I don't think they had as many.
Keep that throng of people behind them that might get into their huddle?
That's right. Yeah. All the people that are watching, you might have cameras, recording what's going on in the timeout huddle.
North Carolina cruising, they need to.
They need to. They need everything they can get right now, and so certainly, winning, going on a run would definitely help them. Also in the ACC, Georgia Tech, they get a 6-point win over Virginia, game that was close at times. So, no, a lot of fun right now.
Stoudemire, head coach of the Yellow Jackets.
That's right, yeah. So a good win for him. I'll be honest, I'll get this off my chest now. Sweating out Grambling and Southern right now.
You are?
I am.
Which way?
So I did a parlay.
Not at 49 in overtime.
Yeah, and Southern, 20 points in the second half. I mean, they score 22 in the second half, and they win that. I did a parlay, which I hate doing parlays. Arkansas money line, which got terrifying down the stretch. Iowa State money line.
Easy all day.
And now we're waiting on Southern money line.
Down 1 in overtime.
Oh, so we'll see. We'll see what
20-11 Southern.
Yeah.
11-21 Grambling.
Yeah. So I mean, the logic behind there, Southern, they gotta win if they want to make the NCAA tournament. It's all in front of them.
Fundamentally, a really good ticket.
I mean, I thought so.
Even better if it wins.
I could have cashed out at like 85%.
Can you cash out now?
Probably not. I don't want to look. I don't know. We're just gonna see how the game plays out.
Oh, you're going to let it ride?
We're just going to let it ride. We're going to let it fly. We're going to see what happens.
That's gaming.
That's gaming right there.
It is
I don't love it, but that's gaming. Last night we had some conference championships. Gonzaga, they got the win over St. Mary's. First time this season they've beat St. Mary's 58-51. I watched a lot of it. It was ugly. We talked about this before the show. First time of the year getting back out at Topgolf, so we were there during most of this game. You were out there womping it last night. We were, and so I had the game on while we were there. Busy. It's spring break week, which I did not know.
Did you have some good hits? Good drives?
The rust of winter is still on us.
Any club other than driver?
No, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I actually, I'll be honest, and I might be the only one that thinks this. I like hitting irons a lot more than I do a driver.
Same here.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm an iron guy all the way. I drive with my iron.
Really?
You do.
I got a 3-iron and I drive with it. I hit about 190, 200 yards with it. What was that?
You carry a 3-iron in your bag?
I do.
How about that?
And if you really want to be surprised, I hit it off the tee.
Okay.
Last weekend, I watched Patrick Cantlay hit a 7-wood. I got grief beyond recognition one time for hitting a 7-wood by my buddies. Hit it 3 feet and made the birdie, by the way.
Well,
but
good for you. I think you get the last laugh there. I don't
know if they did or not. It was unbelievable that I got grief that bad for hitting a 7-wood. Patrick Cantlay, pro golfer extraordinaire, hit one last weekend on tour at Bay Hill.
Love that. That's awesome. Actually, I'm glad Landon is joining the conversation because I think Landon has breaking news to share with you. I think, Landon, you want to share this news with Brett?
Yeah, I revealed it on Johnny's show, but I think I found my baseball team.
He's found his baseball team.
And?
Mets.
Okay.
The Mets.
You want to know how I got to that conclusion? You don't want to know?
I do want to know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's in shock right now.
Yeah, so I saw this video today of this outfield heckler was, messing with Juan Soto, saying you're overhyped, you're overrated, overpaid, and then his next at bat hit a dinger straight to that guy.
Take that.
I was like, man, I'm a fan.
Bought in. He also likes that Tim Tebow was a part of the Mets organization.
That's right.
And now I'm doing some research, and I'm finding some baseball players I really like from this team.
Yeah. Oh, in the 80s, the hatred between the Cardinals and the Mets, it was over the top.
I'm learning about that right now.
Yeah.
He's doing his. He leaves earlier today.
I participated in said hate in the 80s.
He left today, and he goes, yep, I got some work to do. I'm leaving. I got to get some work done.
I'm glad you got a team.
And I was like,
got one.
I thought he had like homework, and I was like, what are you doing homework for? And he's like, no, I'm talking about the Mets. I gotta learn their history. I was like, good for you.
All right, Mets World Championships. Can you name the years?
I know they've won 2.
That's correct. 69 Miracle Mets. Tom Seaver.
Brett,
Was
we
it
can't be pop
82 or
quizzing
86?
him. He's been a fan
86,
for
very
3
good.
hours.
Yeah, 86.
86, they started 24-4 that year.
How about that?
I'm learning.
You're learning.
Very
Picking
good.
it up fast. So
Doc Gooden stuff in 84, 85, and 86 as good as ever been in the history of the sport.
Yeah. I also got to get this off my chest real quick while we're talking baseball. I love the ABS ball strike system. I love it. I'm a huge
I
fan.
liked it in minor league.
Yeah. And I think my biggest thing, because you're right, we saw it a lot the last couple of years with the Redbirds, but I wanted to see how did it look
liked
on
it.
television. How's it? I love it. Yesterday I'm watching.
I like the clock.
Oh yeah,
I was prepared to hate all of it, of course.
but it's worked. And yesterday I'm watching Paul Skeens. I didn't get to see it live because I was busy. So last night I went back and I wanted to watch Paul Skeens and his outing yesterday. And they're playing the Yankees, and he throws one, it's called a strike, and he has that swagger. He kind of does his spin, starts walking towards the dugout because it was the third out. Anthony Volpe immediately starts tapping his head. I want a replay. So they throw it up on the screen. It's a ball 4. He does a backflip and jogs down first. I was like, oh, I'm all in. I love this. It is fantastic.
Bench is clear?
No. Just it wasn't that big of a backflip. It was just a little flip of the bat and jog down. Like
That's got to be an unwritten rule, doesn't it? Or we don't have the unwritten rules for the ABS, though.
We got to write them. But it was almost like a bat flip of, all right, ump, I told you. I knew it was a ball, and he jogged down to first. I loved it.
I think you will find more times than not it shows how good these umpires are.
Oh, yeah.
They have it right, especially kind of painting on the black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've seen a lot of that already in spring training of guys wanting to review it, and it's the
But
exact
there's
right
really
call.
no black on the plate anymore.
No, absolutely.
So
not.
out the corners, it really shows how good these umpires are.
No, it definitely does. But it's been fun. Spring training almost over. I mean, we've got real baseball in less than a week, which is wild to think
Well,
about.
I'm glad you got a team.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I failed again recruiting the Cardinals.
Well,
didn't I?
know.
It's tough recruit right now.
If it makes you
it is
feel
tough
better, I
right
grew
now.
up a Cardinals fan
That
because of
doesn't
the
make
Redbirds.
me
But
feel any better.
I
It means you
feel
left.
a lot better, but I feel a little better.
I don't know.
well, that's what I was aiming for. Just a little bit
Yeah,
better.
a little bit helps.
Well, let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Jeff Brightwell from the Tigers Radio Network. He's going to join us, talk a lot of Tiger basketball as they get ready for the AAC tournament down in Texas. 3:45, we'll talk some Grizzlies as they're in action tonight against the Utah Jazz. 4 o'clock, Vince Ferrara from WNML in Knoxville. He'll join us, also part of the UT Radio Network. He's in Nashville at the SEC tournament. Talk a lot of Vols, but also a lot of the SEC, what to expect this week, or already what we're seeing in the SEC tournament. 4:30, we'll kind of do a little bit of an update, talk about the college basketball that's been going on this afternoon. 4:45, we get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated. He'll join us. He's at the Big Ten tournament, so we'll get a little bit of a report there of what's going on in the Big Ten. But we'll talk all things college basketball with Kevin Sweeney. Then 5:30, Blake Lovell from the Southeastern 16. He's also in Nashville at the SEC tournament. He's nice enough to join us a little bit later today, 5:30, during that break in action in the SEC. He'll join us. We'll talk a ton of SEC and the SEC tournament. And then at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. It's their first ever preseason pool, spa, and patio event going on right now at Family Leisure. Pools starting at $19.99. Spas from $29.99. Cold plunge and swim spas are priced to move, and patio furniture sets starting at $799. Head out there now and sign up to register to win either a free pool, spa, or patio set. Only at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt. We are Sportstime. He's Bryant. I'm Brett. We're with you until 6 o'clock, and we'll keep you updated on all the basketball. And we want you to join us on the Sissy's Log Cabin text line at 901-360-8255. And all our guests will join us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Always in our Family Leisure Studios. And this hour always brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2025 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, it's got to be the SEC tournament getting started out in Nashville. Right now, Texas up 21-13 over the Vanderbilt Commodores, but we've already had one game go final in the SEC. It was a win by the Arkansas Razorbacks over South Carolina, a game that Arkansas team that I think still kind of in bubble territory. You definitely don't want to lose that game against the worst team in the SEC in the first round game. You wanted to get that win. And so, we talked about it earlier. I don't think this point of the season,
that's sealed.
There's no such thing as bad wins, only bad losses.
No style points.
If you win, hey, your season
style
continues.
Points was 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. I mean, heck, in this matchup, South Carolina, they're going home. Their season's done. So, yes, there's no such thing as bad wins this point of the season, but it was a weird game. Arkansas went up by a lot. They were leading. I talked about point differential, plus 17 at halftime, and then in the second half, here comes South Carolina. Arkansas went on a drought, about a 10-minute drought, without a made field goal in that game, and really, I think at one point, 22-4 run for South Carolina to get them right back into that game, but ultimately, at the end, Arkansas able to get a couple of stops, make a couple baskets down the stretch, and get a 4-point win. And Brett, I don't know if you saw this last night when I went to bed. Arkansas was a 2.5-point favorite. This morning, when I was looking at it at about 10:15, 10:30, they were a 4.5-point favorite. So that ending got some people. I mean, that was
somebody middled it.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they did. I had a buddy who got it at 4, so he pushed. So I mean, it was a little bit everywhere. But that was
the perils of March.
That collapse was big for some gamblers out there. Always is.
My top story: SEC started today with great fanfare in that game that we just talked with. Bryant was talking about Arkansas and South Carolina in downtown Nashville. Meanwhile, in Denton, in front of 617, the AAC had the play-in game for the 12th seed at Dickies Arena. We're in the area next year, if Memphis hosts, should host that 12-13 game. Tennessee Martin, Arkansas State, down at Ole Miss. Where should it in the area? Because they had it at Denton, close to Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So if we do that next year here, if Memphis hosts, which why Memphis would want to host, I can't imagine why. Do we not remember 2019? Heck, never mind 2019. 365 days ago, almost a year ago, we had the NCAA tournament in town, and nobody would go see Clemson in New Mexico, but yet we're going to go see Charlotte in East Carolina in a year?
No. I don't think
but
so.
Where will that 12-13 game be played? Where should they have that?
Right on campus, El Marone. I mean, put it there. Why not?
We got to have it somewhere.
Right down the street, I guess. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, the thing about Dickies is they... I know Fex Forum has hosted it plenty of times, but I mean, you've got the you had it at the at Dickies, and they had both the men's and the women's there, and so it worked. Dickies, I don't know what they put on.
Little Rock at UALR.
I don't know. I just don't.
What a joke of a league.
I think I'd rather it not be here, but that's just me.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day, it's the Grizzlies back in action tonight, this time against the Utah Jazz. Last week at this time, we were all kind of freaking out. Grizzlies had lost 4 games in a row, or getting ready to lose 4 games in a row, and we were talking about what is going on, what does this mean, Jaren's injured, what's going on, but now you look up, Grizzlies have won 3 games in a row. I remember, Brett, last week on Friday, you said, hey, let's win one game first before we start talking about 3 or 4
Baby
games.
steps.
And man, that Dallas game was scary at times. The Pelicans game was scary at times. The Suns game was scary at times. But they were able to win all 3 of those tonight against the Jazz. Another very winnable game for this Grizzlies team. And then, they'll look up and they'll have a tough test at home Friday night against Cleveland. But if you're the Grizzlies, if you can go into that Cavs game on a 4-game winning streak, it definitely feels a lot better than where you were a week before that on a 4-game losing streak.
That's my not top story as well. It concerns the Grizzlies. They are at home tonight against the Utah Jazz. Remember the Utah Jazz? And on opening night, a narrow escape. Game number 1 to start 1-0. What if that's the seed line difference?
Yeah, could be.
Back to opening night against the Jazz. The Jazz since then, 15-50 on the year, 13-game road losing streak. Grizzlies a 12.5-point favorite tonight. Could be some strange, again, lineups out there and combinations out there for the Grizzlies against this opponent tonight. And you almost have to have this one because it gets tougher, real tougher Friday night, and with the upcoming schedule. So the Grizzlies, they have to be playing like the season's on the line.
Yep. No, they absolutely do. I mean, it is go time with the season starting to wind down. So I think a big one, really good opportunity.
It would guarantee a winning season, too.
Yeah, no,
I know they want to do more than that, but
for sure,
that beats the heck out of last year.
Oh, man, it definitely does. I'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break. And when we return, we're talking Tiger basketball with Jeff Brightwell.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest match ovens in the Mid-South, Briggs can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Briggs Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Briggs Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or BriggsPowderCoating.com. When you're hungry for good meat, trust the family that has been feeding you since 1967. Charlie Hogan and Triangle Meat Company. Trust Triangle Meat for fresh beef, hamburger, and roast. Trust Triangle Meat for delicious pork ribs, chops, and butter. And trust Triangle Meat for temperature in your blood. 80 bucks a month. Triangle Meat Company has all the meat you need. Shop Triangle Meat Company. 8 to 5, Monday through Saturday, 4790 Summer Avenue, 901-683-1192. Fresh or frozen, big or small. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're going to be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PHIL25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PHIL25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PHIL25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code PHIL25.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for your loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every dollar you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's on Highway 64 in Marble, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. They're putting out a car fire. Traffic still limping along over here on 240 westbound at Airways. Again, 240 west at Airways, trying to clean up this car fire. A lot of rubbernecking associated with this situation over here on 240 westbound at Airways. Traffic's building going eastbound. 240 getting on to 385. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports Witnesses. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now to talk some Tiger basketball, Jeff Brightwell from the Tiger Radio Network. He joins us now. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. Yesterday, I guess it was, the conference awards came out, and Tigers really cleaned up with those awards. I think a lot of people felt good about Coach of the Year, Player of the Year. They were able to get that. Newcomer of the Year with Dane Danger. 3 Tigers on the first team, on a 10-man first team. They got 3 on that. I think we all thought that they would do really good with the conference awards, but it felt good seeing them actually get those yesterday.
Oh, yeah. It was good getting the 3 on the first team. I'm not real big on having, maybe 20 all-conference players. 10 and 10 is almost like a participation trophy. But you remember when we made that run to the Final Four under Cal and we racked up and they had the 5 on there. I think if we go back to the old 5 first team, 5 second team, I still think you probably get 2 first team, 1 second team. So I still think you get your 3 all-conference members on that one. But I think a lot of people, you would expect for most years a first place team's going to get Coach of the Year, but I think the big thing was this year was the turnaround after let's face it, the ultimate collapse of a season a year ago.
And Jeff, for you, another March, another trip to Fort Worth, or another trip to the Tigers Fort Worth, another conference tournament. Kind of for our listeners, for you personally, compared to this time last year when the season was slipping away, to now full of so much hope. You do a great job no matter what, but I know it's a lot more fun with the prospects that are ahead for the team.
Yeah, obviously you're sitting at 26 wins, you get a chance to get 29. There's a good chance it's the 30-win team this year by the time you get down to the NCAA, as long as you win that first-round game and you win out this week. But it's nice going to the tournament and not having to win it. You still want to win that championship. 2 years ago, you may have had to win it the year we beat Houston in the championship. Last year, let's face it, I'll just speak for myself. Going to that tournament last year, kind of held out hope. Could they put it together? Could they all get along for 1 week and win the tournament? But the first day exit was not a surprise last year. It was a strange year. It was another year where we got off to a really good non-conference start. And I'll never forget, once we got back from Christmas break, say what you want about Penny, he's transparent, and he came out after Christmas and he was just talking publicly about how the team didn't get along. There was dysfunction in it, and so you knew what was coming. When you work your way from 15-2, top 10 in the country, to where we were going into that tournament, you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't know that, or you couldn't figure there may be a first round exit last year. It was just a depressing.
What a great contrast this year.
Oh yeah, it's all celebration this year. It's been it's fun. Going to the tournament, to me the worst case scenario happened on the seeding. As far as the bracket, because I wanted to stay out of Wichita State's bracket. I just think it's a bad matchup. You beat them by 3 here, you lost in overtime there, and that's the one team that in the tournament I saw was like that's for some reason not a great matchup for us. Hopefully USF can help us tomorrow and beat them. That way we don't have to play them. I would be curious to see what a third matchup would be like. But I do like the early game. 1 seed, you don't have to sit around and wait all day. Go ahead and get it out of the way. So, we'll see what happens. See what the selection committee does this weekend. A lot of question marks floating around this week for the Tigers.
Yeah, there definitely are. You mentioned the selection committee. A lot of talk this week after Joe Lunardi put out his updated bracket on Monday, had the Tigers an 8 seed. You look over at Jerry Palm from CBS Sports. He has them as a 6. Our friend Shelby Mast over at bracketwag.com, he has Memphis as a 7. It feels like a very wide range for where Memphis could be come Selection Sunday. Where do you think they should be right now, and where do you think they will be if they get to the conference championship, if they win the conference championship?
I mean, honestly, I think we'll be at best. Maybe we get the nod for a 5. I mean, I'm an old school dude. I'm old, so I mean, I know the metrics mean a lot, but I go back to if you're 16th in the country and divide that by 4 regions, that's 4. Yep. So 16 divided by 4 should be a 4, but that's it. It's not the early 1990s anymore. When I was watching Penny play, or the old RPI formula. And here's what I think. I think we can talk about metrics, and I do put stock. I mean, these guys aren't dumb to put together the brackets. They look at all the strength of schedule and the nets and the quads and stuff like that. But we all know, and Brett, you and I go way back. We know when the doors close, and they're already talking, and those doors will really probably start to close on Friday when the committee gets in there and starts talking to the TV people and all that. They're going to look at metrics, but it still comes down to a human component. And what are they trying to do with the selection committee? When the TV people in there are really trying to do, they're trying to create compelling stories for that NCAA tournament. So honestly, I don't know if we'll climb to a 5. I think we win the tournament. I think we'll get the benefit of the doubt. We'll get a 6 because here's Jeff's philosophy. And this, you may think I'm crazy, but if they're looking for TV matchup on a Thursday or a Friday, Arkansas wins today. Don't you think they would love a 5-12 or 6-11 matchup? Mm-hmm. That's good TV for an early Thursday afternoon game. That gets eyeballs on that television.
It does, and Jeff, I know they would probably greatly resist that they bring in the TV component. Now a lot of different partners with True and TBS and all that, but especially back when it was just CBS and you were kind of just locked in on that game, there's no doubt they were out there going, now this game will lead big into CBS Evening News, or when we throw it back to local, and even now, and it should, because it's a very expensive rights fee that they're paying.
Yeah, I tell you what I miss about the ultimate. And I appreciate that TNT and True TV and CBS, and you can go and watch it on the web. You can really truly watch every single game now, but I kind of miss the nostalgia of just watching CBS and seeing where they may throw the game in the middle of the game you're watching.
I do too.
I always loved that. Let's go out to Ogden, Utah. We may be going to overtime.
Yeah.
I always thought that was the greatest.
And if they threw it out to Gus Johnson, you knew he would be screaming.
Yeah. So those are some fun times, but I like watching all the games. But I mean, going back to the seeding, I think they'll probably stick us at a 6, and then comes down to matchups at that point. I mean, we know that we've gotten some good seeding before, and boy, if you match up bad, and you can be a low seed and match up really well and make the run, and of course the wild card is who are the other 2 teams opposite of you, and is there going to be an upset there? I mean, we had it in the palm of our hands 2 years ago, but FAU took it and made the run to the Final Four when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue right before we played. So that's the fun part of the tournament, is just the complete unknown of what is going to happen around you.
But Jeff, you've done it a time or two, and I want you to do it now directly. Take us and our listeners down memory lane for you. All these years of being a Memphis boy and growing up and being around here, now working for the Tigers. What was might have been a Metro tournament, might have been a different conference tournament. Give me a conference tournament and an NCAA tournament that you hearken back to as a good, fun memory. And you mentioned earlier, watching Penny play, that run in '92 was fun.
Yeah, probably the tournament I remember the most, and it didn't put us in the NCAA, was the year after Danny Kirk got let go because he got in trouble. We're on probation. Larry Finch wins the Metro Conference tournament, beat Louisville in the championship. So we did not get an automatic bid out of the Metro that year, and then Louisville turned down the NIT. So it was fun to kind of stick it to Louisville and not let them go anywhere because we couldn't go anywhere either. My favorite runs, I was born in 72. I'm a Gen Xer, child of the 80s. So, of course, the 85 Final Four run, I was crushed as a 12-year-old when Villanova beat us. It was absolutely crushing. When I was in college, probably the most disappointing. And you're going to think I'm going to say the 4 Cincinnati loss season, but the most crushing to me was the Drexel loss, because you kind of knew, this may be really bad for Coach Finch. Unfortunately, it was. It kind of signaled the last couple of years for Coach Finch. Because remember, earlier that year, we were number 3 in the country. We played a neutral site game. It was still in Massachusetts, where we played Cal's team, who was ranked number 1, and I think it was Mingo Johnson dribbled off his foot going down the baseline with under 10 seconds to go. If we win that game, we're number 1 team in the country. But we lose that game, then we go down to Houston when they're just awful. Lose that game, and things start to kind of slide, culminating by the loss to Drexel. That was Brendan Wright's second and last team.
Yeah, Drexel lost out in Albuquerque. Yeah, and you knew it was going to portend really bad things. We're visiting with Jeff Brightwell from the Tiger Radio Network. You hear him on pregame, you hear him on postgame, you hear him on everything at the University of Memphis: football, basketball, women's basketball, baseball. Anything they do, Jeff has done it and has done it very well. You know Coach Hardaway well. You're with him every week on the Coach's Show over at Brookhaven. Kind of his – how do you think his vibes are right now?
Seems to be kind of at ease. I mean, last year was a really rough year on him. He kind of seems to be content. I think a lot of it has to do with the new administration at the university. And we had Ed Scott on the other night, and I talked to Penny about it, and I talked to Ed about it. But let's be completely honest here, Brett. We know in the past we've had some really high-profile coaches over there where, let's face it, it was the athletic department and then basketball, and nobody messed with basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say that maybe Cal was the de facto AD for a while when RC was there. Just no one messed with it, and I think that I don't think it was an intentional thing, but I think maybe they lacked some direction the last few years when Penny was the coach. Just maybe no one knew I don't know if it was how to approach him or how to address things with him. But I think the fact that they got Ed Scott, and more importantly, Tim Duncan, his old, teammate.
Mm-hmm.
They're friends, but I think Tim also, who was a sitting AD down at UNO, probably, gives them a little bit of direction. I mean, no one needs to be up in his business, and no coach wants administrators to be in their business constantly, but coach needs a structure as well. And I think there is likely some structure and some direction and how we need to approach things and do things. And here's what we've done well. And if we're going to continue this is how we need to operate things. So I think that's put him a little bit more at ease this year.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, when you look at this run through the AAC tournament, and especially the NCAA tournament, who is the one key player that has to be on every single game for the Tigers to continue to advance?
Well, PJ is going to be on, so that'd be the obvious choice. But I think it's got to be a combination of one of our two posts or both of them. Mm-hmm. You got to have Dane Danes to continue this role. I mean, the what he's done in conference play. Had he gotten off to that start, he could have fought PJ. And then there was one point in the conference season I thought, well, Dane may take the Player of the Year away from PJ at some point this year. But PJ just continued to step up big, and he had the big games that were late in the league. But I think Dane's very key component to this team. Once you get into a conference or an NCAA tournament, I mean, the teams advance are going to have a dominant guard and a dominant post player. So if he does well, and if he struggles, you got to have Moose to really step up. Now, Moose is more of a defender, but he can get the offensive rebound. If he just gets the offensive boards and stick backs, he's good. They've worked really well together, and that's been a great story this year with the two senior post players and how they've gotten along and how they've developed together.
If you had to pick one, and just one, the combo, the point post combo speaks for itself. But if you had to pick just one, 3 weeks from now, for the Tigers to be on some kind of run, who's it got to be? Who's the one guy that's got to stand out?
I'm going to take those two out of it because they're, as you talk about, everybody knows them, and there's always going to be that third player, that hero. I mean, I think Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter's kind of been a leader this year. He's the one that spoke up after the Wichita State loss and said, "I'm not going to let this happen again." He's your guy, or maybe Jordan, the one returner that to me is the and I'm not saying he's the same type player, but as far as a glue guy, the Antonio Anderson type of this team that's doing the little things, doesn't have to be the superstar, but he's the guy, and maybe it is Tyrese, that grabs someone by the jersey and says, hey, get it together. We got to go. So I think Tyrese at least has been the most vocal in that aspect.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun. We'll see tomorrow who the Tigers will play.
No time like March, is
Friday. Oh, man.
Oh, it's great.
It's the
It's
best
awesome.
time. Jeff, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and let's do it again soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff Brightwell joining us. Talk Tigers from the Tiger Radio Network. Obviously, we'll find out tomorrow who the Tigers will be playing, that matchup between Wichita State and USF. Tigers Friday at noon.
Who do you want?
I want USF, no question about it. I think I've been very, very vocal about how
I'm the least
I want
scared of
nothing
Wichita
about
State of any of y'all.
I don't want it.
Okay.
Wichita as a city, I despise now.
I got
just
you.
don't want any part of it. The juju does not feel good
happens.
whenever
in
Memphis runs
sports,
into
you
them.
do have those bugaboo teams that no matter if you played them 100 times,
There you go. Yeah.
but they give you problems.
They do. And so, and look, I think when you, even just if you look at it at just, face value.
Think of the confidence if you vanquish that tomorrow afternoon. Friday afternoon.
That'd be great. But, when I look at these two teams, I see
You're not overthinking the vanquishing.
a Wichita team that you lost to and you struggled with, and then a USF team that you beat by double digits both times you played them. You had no issue with them. Now, you could sit in a corner and say, well, it's hard to beat the same team 3 times. At some point they're going to get you, sure, but I would way rather have USF than Wichita. A little update from Nashville, Texas, all over Vanderbilt right now. 39-26 as the seconds are winding down in the first half. As Texas, a win here, maybe pull off a win tomorrow, that would definitely be huge for them.
Well, the in-house group lock pre-show, we all missed on Vandy.
We were all saying we liked Vandy, but not so much all Texas. That game just went to half. Texas up 41-26. Vanderbilt some foul trouble. A couple guys with 2 fouls in that first half. So we'll keep you updated on what's going on in Nashville. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we got to talk about the Grizzlies. They're in action tonight against the Utah Jazz. We'll break that one down next on Sports Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humdinger. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Sometimes you just need to leave fast, like the fun that comes from a quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This amazing style stabilizer to narrow 471cc twin, along with a sleek TFT blade, dual disc front brakes, and standard ABS. All running at full price. Find fun all-weather Lexus 2024 Honda CB500F. Available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Miller Road, Oak
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, free meal
like home, Town Village.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports Business. This hour is brought to you by Exercise. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We got to talk about the Grizzlies. They're back in action tonight. Another home game for them as they take on the Utah Jazz. Brett mentioned it earlier. Utah Jazz team that they saw first game of the season, a game that went down to the wire. But since then, two teams that went in completely opposite directions. Grizzlies currently sitting 41-24 on the year. The Jazz 15-50 on the season. Bunch of young dudes over there in Utah. They're definitely in the middle of a rebuild.
Walker Kessler and not much else.
No, it's Walker Kessler, it's Lauri Markkanen, and then it's just a bunch of
I forgot about Markkanen,
young dudes. Kyle Filipowski's played well. You know, he's been kind of giving them some
October
good minutes.
23rd, the Grizzlies win 126-124. What if that is a seed line? You never know when one's coming from, where it's coming from.
It definitely could. And that was a scary game. That was a game.
It was a scary game.
Very late, you're going, you don't want to start the season. Because, let's be honest. We can see now, okay, Utah's not going anywhere. They have 15 wins on the season, and it's March 12th. Back in October, before the season even started, we were all saying Utah's not going anywhere. It's, they're rebuilding. They're going to be in the mix for the number one pick.
15.
Well, yeah, but when you got Cooper Flagg on the line now. But that could have definitely been a tough loss.
Beat them at FedEx Forum late January and have them one more time out in Utah before this year is over, out in Utah on March 25th.
Yeah, so good opportunity tonight for the Grizzlies. We'll see what they can do. And, again, kind of going back to what I talked about in my not top story of the day, where after that 4-game losing streak, Grizzlies have the opportunity tonight to bounce back with a 4-game winning streak going into their next game Friday night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. A little update on the status report if you haven't seen it right now. Santi Aldama and Jaren Jackson Jr. both listed as out. We know those injuries for them. Jaren with the ankle, Santi with the calf. Questionable for tonight's game, Brandon Clark and Zach Edey. So we'll see those two big fellas if they'll be able to go tonight, I'm sure. We might get some more news about that in the 5 o'clock hour. It will likely be they'll go through the pre-game warm-ups and see if they're able to go. But it could be another game where you're really having to lean on some of these guys on the bench, Jay Huff and Marvin Bagley to really step in and give you minutes. And in a game like this, that might be all right.
Got to win this one because Friday night's very imposing for Cleveland because look the stretch they're on.
Oh man! And
then Saturday night against Miami, it's a lot of games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're to that part of the season, and it's a lot. And for the Grizzlies, if they can go into that game Friday night against, like you said, a Cleveland team that I don't know if they know how to lose anymore. I think they just.
Are you at all coming over to my side of the Cleveland-Oklahoma City final? I'm Cleveland.
I think it'd be a great matchup. I think it's one that would go 7 games. I think I'm still leaning Thunder a little bit.
Most
but, how could you not say a team that just is stacking win after win after win after win after win? How could you go against that team? Are we certain
that's going to be the finals?
No. Heck, what was it last week when we were talking to Doug Kazarian? He said, I know Cleveland's the best team in basketball right now, but right now in Vegas, Boston is still the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think, Cavs and Boston, if we get that as a conference final, that'd be awesome.
And Kendrick Perkins over the weekend saying it all goes through Boston, no matter who's sitting on top in these standings, either side.
Yeah, I think he's right. When you have that team that went out there last year and won the whole thing and then really didn't have any roster turnover, brought back pretty much everybody from that group last year, it's hard to say, count them out and they're not going to be a threat. I think they're still going to be a big threat in this Cavs team. They've been to the playoffs. They haven't made that big run, but I think they've got the guys to do it. I'm excited. I hope we get that conference final of Boston and Cleveland.
Me too.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But we'll see what happens tonight. Again, we talked about it earlier, but tonight will be the first night of the simulcast games where Grizzlies will be on Action News 5 as well, and also in Nashville and in Knoxville.
Here's another reason why I'm looking forward to Channel 5.
Okay.
In the 70s, and Channel 5 would put it on, produce everything. The college basketball TV world was just the Wild West back then. Eddie Einhorn and Ms. Lou and other networks. And you had the Saturday, had the NBC package, a lot of Saturdays. It was hard to get games. And for conference games, and Channel 5, and always their halftime show would feature how they're bringing you this broadcast. Yeah. And they had a big old bus that they would take out on the road and do all the production out of. Sure. Jack Eaton narrating it. And I can't remember if they would use Jack Eaton as the play-by-play on the TV games with George Kirk like in radio, or if they had separate teams. So some old timer out there, help me out if you remember. Now, I know Matt Dillon did the games on Channel 10 that were showed on Channel 10 after the games. Yeah. But when they would have those occasional road games, Wichita State would always be one. Whenever they played the Wheat Shockers, they would feature that bus.
Well, that team again, it's just they're always there, Wichita State. But
it is.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun tonight. It'll be cool, and I'm excited to kind of see how it plays out, how it looks, and then what the reaction is to everybody. We'll get that tomorrow, and a couple days later of how is it going to work out? Is it I think it's going to be good. So I'm excited to see it, but we'll see. A good opportunity again for the Grizzlies to get another win tonight at home against Utah. Let's go ahead and wrap up this first hour, and when we return, we're heading out to Nashville to talk SEC and the Vols. Vince Ferrara from WNML in Knoxville, also a part of the UT Radio Network. He's going to join us. We'll talk all things Vols and the SEC. That's next on Sports Time.
Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelet, breakfast Sammys, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf are one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I Pluck Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call 5-Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. 5-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. This rebel young is back. Online radio show is back on
Good afternoon. It's got a little bit heavier south of Memphis on 55 down through certain parts of DeSoto County. We've had some wrecks down through there all the way down into Tate County. It's building already at times on 240 east from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Still moving as you head out towards Collierville. If your lawn needs some help, call Lawn Solutions right now. They have over 30 years experience and they're affordable. Call Lawn Solutions at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 once again, Brett Mosley and Brian Davis.
Welcome back in Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Here in a second, we're going to talk with Vince Ferrara from WNML in Knoxville. He's also part of the UT Radio Network. He's out in Nashville at the SEC tournament. We talked about it earlier, but game just about to get back from half, and right now Texas is all over Vanderbilt, a team that, you see it a lot this time of year in conference tournaments. These desperate teams that are on the bubble. They mentioned it 4 or 5 times before the game started on SEC Network that right now this is a team that's in the Joe Lunardi's first 4 out. They got to go out there. They got to go get some wins if they want to make the NCAA tournament. And we're seeing them. They're playing like a desperate group. And on the other side, Vanderbilt getting into some foul trouble. They don't really have things clicking on the offensive end, and now they're trailing big at half.
My pregame analysis on this could not have been more wrong. I thought the Texas team limping to the finish line played poorly last Saturday. Everybody knows Rodney Terry is out. You have a game that Trey Johnson can't make a field goal last Saturday. But nothing like waving that maroon A&M flag in front of Texas for the potential matchup tomorrow, for them to get the Aggies tomorrow, and the winner of that game, whether it's Texas or Vandy, tomorrow they will get the Tennessee Vols on Friday.
Yeah, and speaking of the Tennessee Vols, Vince Ferrara from WNML in Knoxville. He's also part of the UT Radio Network. He joins us now to talk the Volunteers. I know we're going to talk SEC tournament, but when you look at this Tennessee team, what has been the most impressive thing about this year's Tennessee team through the regular season?
Well, guys, good to be on with you. I would say their resiliency, and they're not a super deep team, but they've been in some games where they've either had slow starts or foul trouble, those kind of things, and they've kind of found their way. Zakai Ziegler has been much better in second halves of games than first halves, especially, kind of in the back part of SEC play. And, times shots aren't falling. So you need to be able to figure something out. And this team generally, especially against good teams, has the ability to figure things out. So the resiliency, I think, would be at the top. I'd say player development. Chaz Lanier came in just guns blazing to start the season, had the explosive game against Baylor, and some really good offensive performances, but he wasn't challenged like he was going to be in SEC play. And he has a little bit of a slow start to SEC play, but then you saw him take coaching, find different ways to get open, drive to the basket, get his mid-range shots. He's really good off of curls on screens. He's got an outstanding mid-range game, such a quick shot. So they still want more for him. They actually want him to shoot a lot more and be even more aggressive. But you can just see the player development in their star player, who at the beginning of the year was compared to Dalton Connect because of the points he was putting up.
Yeah.
He's not Dalton Connect. He's a different type of player. But they need him to carry the team at times and kind of be that dog. Connect had that killer instinct. Lanier is an incredibly nice kid, respectful kid, He always talks about how he wants to take what the defense gives him, but the coaches want more from him and being more, selfish maybe is the wrong way to term it, but be more aggressive. And if he can do that and be that dude to take over a ball game, I think this team, despite not being super deep, can get some things done. So those would be the couple of things that off the top of my head would jump out to me as impressive about the team.
Vince, in your observation of this team, let's compare some past teams, some really good Rick Barnes, Tennessee Volunteer teams. I don't want to get you in trouble with anybody, but where do you think this one ranks? Is this vintage? Is this at the top? Is this the most go-for-it team, or is this Sweet 16? Where would you rank this Rick Barnes Tennessee team with some of the past really good ones?
You know what? I think it's different. I think it has Final Four potential, but I think it is different. And so I don't want to say better because so much of it comes down to matchups. Now, I think this team has Final Four potential, and I think they, like many other in college basketball, are candidates to potentially be upset in the second round. I mean, but they're not alone in that. But I also would not be shocked by it, depending on who you get. I actually think we've seen maybe more talented teams be upset in the NCAA tournament from Tennessee, and just different teams for sure. But what I like about this team that maybe has an ingredient that maybe some of the others did not is that even though they don't have big offensive numbers, they're more efficient offensively. So if you go player by player, I don't know, I can't just say, this team is better than that team, or this is the best, or this is second or third, but they might have an ingredient or two that could help them get farther. And I think the offensive efficiency is the best one of those traits that they have. The best teams are both in the top 25 that make the Final Four and the championship are top 25 in offensive and defensive efficiency, or at least top 50. There's been some exceptions in one or the other. But you better be there in one or the other, and they definitely are defensively, and they're in that range offensively, but they're better, more efficient offensively than they've been in years past. So I think that, and obviously the defense and the resiliency that I mentioned before, are things that can get you out of tough spots in adversity in the NCAA tournament that you're bound to have. And one other thing, just off the top of my head, health. Yeah. They've had player for player, you know this, they've had player for player maybe better teams, but they haven't been healthy. They've had a key player missing at least 3 times in Barnes' history, maybe 4. And right now, they're healthy. So they're not deep, but at least they have all their existing bodies. So, I think this team can go the farthest out of anyone, even if player for player, I might not easily rank them higher than the others.
You would know a lot better than me, but just from my vantage point, I thought the 2018 team that lost to Loyola, I thought that Final Four spot Loyola got, that was Tennessee's. And 2 years ago, the FAU spot in the Final Four, I thought that was Memphis's.
Right.
Did you?
Yeah,
do you think that was the near miss team?
Yeah, I think what tends to happen is when the bracket opens up, you think, all right, here it is. It's yours for the taking. And I know definitely for Tennessee, that has actually been a bigger challenge when it's not a name program. They had the game with Duke,
2 years ago
in their run. Yeah, and so certain matchups, certain teams, when it's not the big name blue blood, I think Tennessee does well in those blue blood games, as long as they don't have Zach Edey. But yeah, it certainly looked like that team, and they also did. That was another health issue for them because they lost Kyle Alexander, who was playing his best ball he was so young but so tall and athletic, gave him another dynamic that they were missing. So, it's hard to say how different it would have been with him. But, yeah, health has been an issue for Rick Barnes' teams. That's, an honest part of the equation.
Mm-hmm. A guy I loved watching last year at Charlotte was Igor Milicic, who's now at Tennessee. What have you made of what he has done for this Volunteer team this season?
He is crazy talented. He may be the most skilled Tennessee player with all the different things he can do. The basketball IQ, shoot from the three, get to the rim. He's so good in traffic and avoiding contact. Outstanding passer. He really is kind of a part-time point forward for them. He gets them in their half-court offense. He takes some load off of Zakai Ziegler, at that 6'10", 6'11" frame. The problem with Igor sometimes is he's not aggressive enough. He's another one that passes up on good shots because he's trying to be unselfish to get better shots for his other guy. And so that's still kind of a work in progress that he can do both. He can still facilitate when it helps the team, but he's also got to know when to take a guy off the dribble, attack the basket with authority. He doesn't always have that edge that I want to crush you edge that guys that take over in the NCAA tournament a lot of times have. I'd like to see if he has that switch. We haven't seen it, but man, the skills are there without a doubt, and he's their best rebounder, which is he needs to, and they all need to elevate their game because they've been a really good rebounding team this year, but the last couple of games they've been out rebounded, and they're not an elite enough shooting team to get beat on the glass. So they got to be locked in on that in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament.
Vince, I think I'd rather have two or three or a team of guys that are unselfish, that want to play the right way, that want the extra pass. But here in Memphis with the Grizzlies, a lot of times Mark Gasol in prime years, in the name of playing the right way, management would go, no, Mark, we're paying you a lot of money. Shoot the ball.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And Rick Barnes kind of used that phrase. I remember earlier in the year with Chaz Lanier, they called a play for him and he didn't shoot. And Rick Barnes immediately took him out of the game. And in the post game, he was like, "Hey, that's why we pay you the money we do to take shots like that." And everyone's like, "Whoa!"
I love the candor.
Yeah. And that's the case. All these guys are getting NIL money, but Chaz Lanier, much like Dalton Knecht, didn't make his college decision based on who gave him the most NIL money. He knew he would get better and be coached up. That's why Dalton Knecht came to Tennessee, not because they were the highest bidder. And Chaz Lanier made the same decision. Also, it's his home state. I mean, he's going to be playing the SEC tournament in his hometown in Nashville with a bunch of friends and family. So that was a factor too. But yeah, you want guys to have that mindset. But what ends up happening is when all those guys have that mindset at the same time, Zakai Ziegler is dribbling for the last 10 seconds of the shot clock and having to jack up at the end of the shot clock three, which has happened too frequently for a team that has really good offensive efficiency numbers. If they can cut back on that, this team would be even more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. Take us back a couple weeks ago, the Tennessee-Alabama game. Meshack throws up the half-court shot, wins the game for Tennessee. What was your reaction to that shot and the reaction to a lot of your listeners?
It was, wow. Oh, my God. Something to that effect. I know it was crazy loud there. My goodness. And Meshack's, what I remember about it is Meshack's reaction. He was just kind of like stone-faced. Like, yeah, I hear all y'all say I can't shoot. I can't play offense. And then they celebrated, obviously, afterwards. So it was cool. What I loved about it maybe the most is it wasn't a heave. It was an actual shot.
Yeah.
And we found out afterwards.
Good form jump shot.
Yeah, it's something he works on all the time in practice. In fact, he has 7-footer Felix Alpara guarding him when he's working on that shot.
Wow.
So he's having to shoot it over length on top of the form and the distance of taking the shot. So when he had, really nobody close to him, that made it easier and clearer. And Rick Barnes was trying to call timeout, and he didn't. And Barnes said that normally he gives the officials the head up before that. Hey, I'm going to call timeout, so look for it. He didn't that time.
Wow.
And because he didn't, they didn't hear him try to call timeout when they were bringing it across half court. Meshack knew he wanted to call a timeout, but he looked over and he really didn't see what he was trying to signal, so he just went ahead and took the shot because the court opened up for him. He made that decision, and it worked out beautifully for them. So just a lot of things prior to that played out just absolutely perfectly. And they put like 1.2, I think, on the clock prior to the attempted inbounds, or where they got the 5-second, and all. Just a lot of things played in, and then the fans are just not something you're ever going to forget if you're a Tennessee fan. And I think the appreciation for him grew. It should have been high, but I think for some that maybe haven't seen the big offensive numbers and just based their a player's ability on that, I think they were reminded that he brings so many other things to the table. He's to me, he's the best defensive player in the country that has taken a lesser offensive role because it's what's best for his team, and he makes winning plays, and he's a winner and an unbelievable leader too.
Our friend Vince Ferrara with us from WNML in Knoxville, part of the Tennessee radio broadcast team, on his way to Nashville. He's on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, and there's a mountain of bracketology out there. It can make you dizzy these days trying to keep up with it all, and we'll have the bracket on Sunday. Never mind the bracket. What if the Final Four looks like the top 4 seeds in Nashville? What if, Vince, and could it happen, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, that be your Final Four in San Antonio?
Well, I mean, I can't. It would be surprising, but are they all capable? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But just from a likelihood, it certainly I wouldn't give it much of a chance. But they're all worthy. I think Alabama is better than they were last year. They're also different. They're more explosive than they were a year ago. Obviously, Florida is. I think Tennessee has the ingredients better. Auburn, obviously is much better. So yeah, I think you could see it. Let's see if they spread all those teams out. If Tennessee's on the 2 line, if Alabama's on a 2 line, do they just out of coincidence put them in with another SEC team so they run into each other and nothing like that happens? We'll see. But yeah, I think they're all capable of it. It's just not a great percentage of it happening.
Lenardi has it fanned out like that right now, Vince. And if Lenardi is right and that happened, it would be 2-seed Alabama against 2-seed Tennessee. That would be one national semifinal. The other one would be 2-seed Florida against number 1, probably overall, Auburn. Here's the headline that Saturday in every newspaper across Tennessee. Never mind the 3rd Saturday in October. How about the 1st Saturday in April?
Well, it won't replace the 3rd Saturday in October.
No,
but
won't.
To your point, it will draw a ton of interest for sure. And just like
cigar sales
Alabama
will go up
Auburn,
in San Antonio.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw it. They showed a shot on the video board of Josh Heupel during the sorry, there's all kinds of accidents on the interstate.
That's fine.
But yeah, so they showed a shot of Josh Heupel at the Tennessee Alabama game, and he did the cigar signal with his fingers to his mouth late in that game. So yeah, it's something that Alabama baseball busted it out when they were the only team to win a series against Tennessee last year, the eventual champs. So so that thing may continue to spread beyond just in football. But look, the debate, and you guys probably talk about it. The debate with fans is, I don't want to play a bunch of games in Nashville at the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. It's about the NCAA tournament.
It's like Hoover in baseball. Do
you want a grueling day after day against tough teams and a grind and risk of injury and all these kind of things to win an SEC championship, and then you're out of gas for a team that doesn't have a ton of depth? Then you're out of gas for the NCAA tournament, especially if you get the Thursday, Saturday as opposed to the Friday, Sunday. Now, look, there's examples of all of them. Deep run, and then in the conference tournament, for all conferences, deep run conference tournament, make a big run in the NCAA tournament. You go one and done in your conference tournament, you go one and done in the NCAA tournament, and vice versa, where you go deep after losing early, vice versa. So there's not just one way to do it. It depends on the type of team that you have. So with this team, they played, to me, one of their best games after more rest, which was Texas A&M on the road. So they're getting a little bit more rest now. We'll see how they handle it going into the first game. But I think when this team is tired, it does get to them, because their ninth man, Boswell, only plays like 3 minutes a game. And then Dubar, their eighth man, plays sometimes more than others, depending on foul trouble and things like that. But he's not a regular 10-minute guy either. So it's really a core of seven, and even the seventh sometimes in Cade Phillips just depends on how locked in he is. So it to me, rest would be of value to this team. I think it may be better off getting a win. They lose on Saturday, not the end of the world. You end up a 2 seed. You also avoid being the last number 1 seed that gets sent to San Francisco out west for your fans. So maybe you get something a little bit closer as a 2 seed. It may be a tougher path. If so, it probably will be slightly, but the rest may override that. Just a common debate that we have with fans on what to do in the conference tournament.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's going to be fun to see what Tennessee can do. They'll be playing their first game about this time on Friday. Vince, enjoy Nashville. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again soon.
It's always a blast. It's one of my favorite events to cover, and then this year with everything that's on the line for all those teams, it'll be even better in the best league. But thanks for having me, guys. Anytime you guys need me, let me know.
Vince, we love having you. Be safe. Thank you.
Vince Ferrara joining us every once in a while when we got to talk Vols. He's the guy when you're talking Vols.
For Tennessee.
Yeah. It really has. I mean, national championship in baseball, really good football season with a lot to build on, and now what they could do with basketball. I mean, it has been the sports year for them.
And the pressure that sets in now for Rick Barnes. He is advanced past that second round.
Yeah.
Albatross lately, but his Final Four time for Tennessee men's basketball.
Yeah,
never have, and it would be. I think just getting there is a big win. For them.
No, absolutely. And you look at this team.
In fact, for most people, I don't know if I'd even put it on your beloved John Shira. I think just a Final Four should be enough for most.
Oh, absolutely.
For the great majority, just a 16.
Oh, I was about to say. I mean, I always say it. We hang banners for Sweet 16 appearances.
About 40 teams, an NCAA tournament win is pretty good.
For sure.
Real good.
For sure. And so for Tennessee, I mean, I think you have your worries about, offensively, can they do enough throughout the tournament? But, Vince
can
mentioned
they make enough shots?
Yeah. And
he mentioned their rotation. Everybody's down to what Penny has had to deal with all year. This is about all the cats you play at tournament time.
Yeah, I was looking at, and I'd be curious to look at Memphis. I'll pull it up here in just a second. But I was looking while we were talking with Vince at Tennessee's KenPom page, and bench minutes percentage, 25.1% of their minutes go to the bench. That is 311th in the country. So, it's a small rotation there. It's a small rotation for Memphis, but, he was kind of playing both sides of it with us. He was saying, that they're not super deep. There are times they can't make shots, but you look at those graphs and things that people post where, if you're top 25 offense, top 25 defense, then you have a good opportunity to win a national championship. And you look right now, Tennessee 22 in offensive efficiency, number 1 in defensive efficiency. So, we'll see. And I think a lot will have to do with, what does that road look like for them? Are they a 2? Are they a 1? How's it going to set up?
No lower than 2.
It doesn't feel like it. No,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't feel like it.
It's settled in out there pretty much too.
Yeah, and good for them. They have been really good this year.
Well, he mentions that San Francisco region. That's a good point.
Yeah, because we've talked about that. Of look at these 3 teams that could really be battling for that final number 1 seed, and certainly you would think want to be a number 1 seed and start with a 16 and then kind of work your way down. But when it comes to maybe you want a 2 and maybe a little bit tougher where it's a better location for your fans. I hadn't even really thought of that point.
Lenardi right now, Tennessee 2, Newark region, Pod Cleveland, opening against Robert Morris, playing the winner of Louisville, Arkansas.
Well.
And then potentially the number 1 matchup of Tennessee and Duke.
Yeah.
Duke should want that after 2 years ago bully job, shouldn't they?
For sure. Absolutely. That'd be fun. And, you look at some of the other teams that
I think I know the Tennessee game plan.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Try to beat them up again.
It's bully them again. But you look at that region, the East region, there's some fun teams in there right now with what Lenardi has. UConn in there playing Mississippi State in the 8-9, BYU in there as a 5, Maryland as a 4, Vandy in there as an 11, Michigan as a 6. You mentioned Louisville and Arkansas. That'd be a really fun region.
San Francisco right now, West region, Florida, the 1 seed there.
Yeah, so
that's as far as you can travel.
Oh yeah, that would be a long trip for those Gator faithful, but we'll see. That's going to be the question: is who gets that number 1 seed? It feels like there are 3 teams right now kind of battling for that last number 1: Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Which one goes out there and gets it? And really, when you look at it, do you really want to get that final number 1? I guess we'll see.
Memphis Tigers, according to Joe Lenardi, if he's right, they would be an 8 and face Georgia as the 9. Bring it on, a million times a billion.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Fire it right square into the sun. Bring it on. Winner getting Houston if Houston got over Quinnipiac, and they will.
Feel very good about Houston and their
Not a
chances
single person in the Memphis building afraid to play Kelvin Sampson.
No,
might not beat him, but they're not afraid of him.
But Penny Hardaway has certainly matched up well with Kelvin Sampson in the past. So yeah, that'd be fun. You talk about the
Houston-Memphis wars in the NCAA tournament.
Oh man,
I don't know if this is pleasant memories or PTSD flashbacks.
Well, you could get it again, and obviously the recent history within the conference. So no, that'd be a lot of fun. I'd definitely sign up for that. So we'll see.
Every year it ran into Akeem Olajuwon. It felt like.
Well, that's not fun.
Why does that guy always have to be there?
Yeah, that's not a guy I'd want to run into. Right before we get to a break here, another update from Nashville. Texas up 54-39 over Vanderbilt. It's about 10.5 minutes left in that game. Just absolute dominance right now from Texas. Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on in the SEC tournament. We'll also look around the country at these other conference tournaments that are going on right now. I know we had a big upset that just went final a couple minutes ago in the Big 12. We'll get to that and all things college basketball next on Sports Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app and say, Alexa. Preseason pool spa and patio event is going on now. Family and leisure, first time ever. Unbelievable savings. You want a pool? They're starting at just $19.99. How about a spa? They're starting at just $29.99. Patio furniture sets are starting at $7.99. Cold plunges and swim spas are just, I can't even say those prices. But I will say, they're priced to move. There are so many deals going on right now during the first ever preseason pool spa and patio event. You've got to come in and see the savings for yourself. But wait, there's more. I always want to say that. You can register to win either a free pool, a spa, or a patio set. Yes, a free pool, spa, or patio set. Just stop by Family Leisure to sign up. This is a first time ever preseason pool, spa, patio event. It's going on right now at Family Leisure. Family Leisure, Wheaton Road at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Eczema flaring up again. We have good news. Exoderm. If you or someone you love suffers from eczema or dermatitis, get Exoderm, the common sense answer for eczema. This stuff really does work. Exoderm contains the #1 doctor-recommended ingredient in a clean hypoallergenic cream with no harsh additives. Take back control of your eczema with affordable, fast-acting Exoderm Flare Control Cream. Exoderm. It's in the first aid aisle of your local drugstore, supermarket, or big box store.
It's putt-putt time. The weather's getting right for a little time outside. Putt-putt Golf and Games Driving Range is a good place to be. At Putt-putt Driving Range, $10 gets you a small bucket of balls, use of the chip and playing greens, and home tracing. Even senior rates available. Putt-putt Golf and Games Driving Range. 84 Summer Avenue. Putt-putt Driving Range. 901-386-2992. Putt-putt Driving Range. It's putt-putt time.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, for speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
This traffic report brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's been a little bit slow on and off I-40 around 269 coming in and out of Fayette County this afternoon. Plenty of radar out there for sure. It's busy now on 240 east from Mill Branch all the way out to 385 Billmore. Parkway cranking it pretty good out towards Collierville. Weimer's Jewelry serving the Memphis area for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, go by and see them. You'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back in Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. A little bit of a college basketball update here right now. Mentioned it going into the break, but Texas all over Vanderbilt, up 18 points right now, 63-45, 8.5 minutes left in this game. And looks like Texas is going to continue to the next round. You mentioned it earlier, Brett. A win here for Texas would set up a Texas A&M game tomorrow afternoon.
Play
the
nice.
Same time. Yes, please play nice. We know the first game of the day in the SEC will be Arkansas Ole Miss.
Play nice.
Play nice again, and it's going to be a full weekend of playing nice between those two fan bases. Arkansas, they got the win earlier today against South Carolina, a game where they dominated in the first half. Second half, it was all South Carolina, but Arkansas able to do just enough.
7 players used, a lot of minutes played for Arkansas. Yep. Billy Richmond has really provided the intensity, spark, high energy help for John Calipari since the release of Boogie Flan.
Yeah, he has, and I was kind of nervous about that.
Some say injury.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, maybe one day we'll find out what it really is. But no, I mean Billy Richmond, a freshman that, especially early in the season, kind of struggled and very, very raw. And, I just didn't have a ton of faith in him and what he could do this year. But you're right, has given them something this year. 4 for 8 today from the field, giving them some assists, giving them some rebounds, doing it on
shot
defense.
block
Yeah, so
last weekend.
he's been good for them. So, yeah, I mean, you look up and down, it looks like you're looking at a Memphis box score with all of these minutes played.
It does.
For these guys. But, these are the guys you got to lean on. You went out and got John L. Davis to be a guy for you. And for the first half of the season, he wasn't. Now he's starting to play better. Yes, Adu you need a lot from. And, Trevon Brazile, the one guy that returned to this team from last year. DJ Wagner, a guy that followed Cal from Kentucky to Arkansas. You need these guys. Those three guys, Brazile, Davis, Wagner, those three guys all had 35 or more minutes played in that game day. And all three of those guys, those are the guys that, before the season started, you could have told anybody, those are going to be the guys that you need to play those minutes late in the season. And so they were able to produce today.
Arkansas firmly in?
I think so. Yeah, I think with that win, they're in.
No Dayton?
No, I think they're in. I think they'll have a protected seed. And so, I mean, good for them. Good for John Calipari. I mean, this season could have fallen off the deep end very fast. And so I think you got to give him a lot of credit. You got to give these guys a lot of credit for how they, really turned things around. And now, we'll be back in the NCAA tournament.
Texas, if they win, they will play A&M tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They're going. This is not going to change. They went 6-12 in the SEC this year.
That's right. And
will that put pressure on a committee? A lot of people have asked, okay, you're probably a good team, but how much losing can we have in a league?
Yeah, and that's the question, because let's say Texas goes out, they're going to win today. What if they pull the upset tomorrow over Texas A&M? I mean, you look at this team.
I think they're in if they do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think if they do
that's
that,
14.
They're definitely in, and it's just so tough because you look at it, 6-12 in SEC play. But it's the SEC. Those 6 wins were super valuable wins for them.
Swept by Arkansas, lost to Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's just it's a weird season. I mean, that's how good the SEC is, and I think you'll see the committee view it as the best conference in basketball this year, and I think you're going to see them give a lot of favorable seeds in favorable spots to the SEC teams. But we'll see. This is a team that certainly looks good today. How can they carry that over tomorrow against A&M?
And you said upset in the Big 12.
Yeah, upset in the Big 12. Colorado wins another game today, this time over West Virginia. Colorado team, entered the tournament 12-19 on the season, and now back-to-back wins. That improves them to 14-19 on the year. But this is a West Virginia team. They'll be in the tournament, and 19-13. They've had a good year, but in Big 12 play, 10-10 on the season. And I don't know. Let's see, what were they favored going into that game today? 6.5-point favorite going into today's game, end up losing by 7 points. So Colorado getting hot at the right time.
Shelby Mast had them as a 9 seed. Everybody pretty much firmly in. You just wondered, could Texas be taking that spot?
Yeah, they could.
Can they be playing out?
Yeah, I mean,
they're not going to play anymore.
No, they're not. And I think, Colorado's bad loss. I think they're safe enough to where a team like Indiana would be a team that I would push out unless they went on a run.
North Carolina,
North Carolina certainly. I think Texas would jump in front of them. Even a team like maybe Ohio State. I don't know where various bracketologies have Ohio State, but I feel like West Virginia is good right now, but we really don't know until we see what the committee says here in a couple of days. But some other finals around the country. Northwestern, they beat Minnesota 72-64. We mentioned earlier Iowa State, the 76-56 win over Cincinnati. Georgia Tech, a 66-60 win over Virginia. Those are some of the notable finals. Some games going on right now. Butler, they've got a 10-point lead right now over Providence. That'd be an upset in Big East play. Nevada on top of Fresno State over in the Mountain West. LaSalle over UMass. And then we do have one championship game going on right now, the Southland Final going on right now. McNeese up 4 right now on Lamar Will Wade's team, looking for another NCAA NCAA tournament appearance, maybe Will Wade's final NCAA tournament appearance as McNeese's head coach. Sounds like NC State going to take a look at him. I'm sure a lot of other programs going to take looks at him this offseason. But some really good games later today into the night. I mean, I heard driving in this morning, I heard Eli talking about, games starting at 10:30 and last games tipping off at 10:30. So really fun day, and it's going to be the same thing tomorrow.
Times.
I mean, it's a lot of fun right now.
And a lot of these games, the only game that's really going to go off on time is the first game of the session.
That first game, you feel. Except, I said that yesterday, and you reminded me that things can still happen. You bring in smoke machines and
I've seen it.
Different things that could always happen.
I've even seen that second game of the afternoon session go so long that it got into the time of the first night session game.
For sure. And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case in Nashville today. Texas making it look real easy. But, no, you can definitely see that. But, yeah, you feel good about that first game of the morning at the very least.
LSU and State first game of the night session tonight in Nashville. State just needs to get to playing well. They need to guard somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. The way that Mississippi State ended the season is not how you want it. I mean, 8-10 in SEC
but I like
play.
the athletes. I love the coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good team. And so, I think this is a perfect spot for kind of that get-right game against LSU and, get a win here. They're 8.5-point favorites and move on to tomorrow and kind of see how it all falls out. They win that game tonight. They'll see a tough Missouri team tomorrow night.
And if they win it, that means everything the rest of the way in Nashville is quad one.
Yeah, which, I mean, right back to, a team like Texas. You get on a little roll.
I don't know if anybody
here.
can ever pull this off again.
No, it's just...
In the SEC, they threaded the needle. They did it by winning.
Oh, yeah.
But that 30-4 against the ACC, that stands out.
Oh, yeah, and
that's not ever happening.
No, it'd be hard to think of the ACC struggling the way it struggled like this. But, hey, I mean, with the amount of openings and new head coaches next year, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. And
highlights Memphis going 2-2 against big bad SEC.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, great non-conference for the Tigers when you look at what they did against both SEC and even ACC with Clemson in there. But Virginia, going back to the ACC, we mentioned they lost to Georgia Tech. After that game, they made it official. Ron Sanchez will not return as the head coach for Virginia. We knew that was going to happen. It was we were waiting until that final game until that became official.
From the breaking news of the coach leaving to now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you just knew it was happening. So, I mean, you look up and there's a lot of openings in the ACC, a lot of new coaches coming in next year, and so how we've seen it. At some places, Louisville in the ACC, where they go out and get that new head coach, they get him from the mid-major ranks, and he comes in, brings that energy, and immediately turns the program around. I still do not think the job Pat Kelsey has done at Louisville has gotten enough attention at the national level because this is a team in Louisville that was just awful the last 2 seasons. He comes in, immediately brings that energy, turns it around. They're a tournament team this year. And so it can be done. We'll just see, who can make that hire and have somebody that can immediately come and turn things around.
With all the coaching changes in the ACC, would that elevate Steve Forbes to seniority?
He'd be up there, yeah.
It sure would be.
He'd be way up there. I'm trying to think.
Cape Boy Pitt?
Yeah, he. That's the first name that comes to me.
When you bulldoze Keats, Larinaga, and others.
Yeah, it's going to be
Hamilton
next year before the season starts. That's where you're going to be getting out the magazines and trying to learn these coaches for the ACC because it's going to look completely different than what we're got to know, 3, 4, especially 5, 6 years ago with those legends that were in the ACC. It's going to be completely different. But, we'll see. And I know Georgia Tech, with that win today against Virginia, I believe their reward for winning in the first round is Duke tomorrow. So I don't know. Georgia Tech gets a good win today, but I don't know if that will continue into tomorrow with the tough test that Duke will be. I mentioned the Southland Conference Championship going on right now. We have two more later tonight. The Patriot Final at 6 o'clock, Navy and American. That'll be on CBS Sports Network. And then late tonight, 10:30, the Big Sky Final, Montana and Northern Colorado. That'll be on ESPN2. So 3 tickets getting punched today with the Southland, the Patriot, and the Big Sky. Always a lot of fun. Had some tickets punched last night. We mentioned Gonzaga, but also UNC Wilmington. They beat Delaware. A really fun game, 76-72, the final in the CAA. St. Francis pulled the upset over Central Connecticut.
You know their NIL budget?
I do not.
0.
Really? I did not know that. Well,
they're proud of it.
Are they? Huh. Well, they're now 16-17 with that win yesterday in the conference championship.
They're Dayton bound.
They are absolutely Dayton bound. And listen to this final score, 46-43, the final score of that game last night in the NEC final. And then Robert Morris, they beat Youngstown State 89-78 in the Horizon final last night. So we're having a bunch of these mid-majors wrap up their conference tournaments and have those teams clinch. And now it will be a lot of these higher mid-major and even power conferences that we'll see wrap up their tournaments this weekend as we lead up to the selection show. But let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we return, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Vargas. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been a Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet or steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
When you buy a new house, you might say,
Shut the front door.
winning.
No, seriously. Shut the front door. We own this house now.
But you actually need to say,
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
that's right. State Farm agent is there to help you choose the coverage you need. Welcome to my crib.
No one said that.
So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois. All aboard, football fans! The Memphis Showboats are back in action with more of the football you love. Join the Showboats at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium March 30th for the opening weekend of the 2025 UFL season as the Boats take on the Michigan Panthers. Kickoff is 11 a.m. Head to UFLShowboats.com now to get your tickets and get more of the touchdown celebrating, high-fiving, bell-ringing action you love. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats!
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money,
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 once again, Brett Rosworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, my big number today is the number 25. Last night,
Unbelievable. Same as mine.
Is it really? I highly doubt that they are the same big number, about the same thing.
I don't know that we've ever had that.
I don't think we have, and I don't think it's going to start today. Mine is about Gonzaga and their win last night.
It will not start
over St. Mary's. It was a win for Gonzaga, but it was an extremely ugly game for both sides. Gonzaga wins it while shooting 41% from the field, only 6% from three, and 71% from the free throw line on the other side. St. Mary's shot 38.5%, 0%, 0 for 16 from three, and 73% from the free throw line. Gonzaga is the only Division I team in the last 25 seasons to score less than 60 points. They finished with 58. Shoot under 10% from three on 15 or more attempts, and get out-rebounded by 15 or more. They were out-rebounded 43-28 last night, and yet still win the game. Division I teams had been 0-121 over the last 25 seasons when putting up those numbers. Take that, 0-121.
Okay, you watch a lot of ball. You know ball. Just watching those, naked eye, those teams. How do you think they would stack up against the Tigers?
I'd like the Tigers against both of those. I really would.
Same seed line as Gonzaga, according to Shelby Mass.
Sure.
Two better for St. Mary's.
Yeah, and yes,
St. Mary's a 5, Memphis a 7.
I think the one thing that worries you about both of these teams, certainly for St. Mary's, I think both these teams are so well coached, but I think stylistically, St. Mary's can scheme against anybody. It feels like they just have that. They're gonna be very disciplined and do the right things. Gonzaga, just kind of that experience being there every year. And I mean, with that win yesterday, it definitely guarantees they're going to be in the tournament. That's 28 consecutive NCAA tournaments for Gonzaga. That type of just being there, I think, would scare any team. But when you're just saying, hey, go out there, roll the ball out on the court and play them,
ball.
I think the Tigers can match up with either of those.
And I watch these teams, and I think that when I'm watching, well, how would Memphis do?
Sure.
And I think just fine against all of them except for about one or two. Auburn, we've seen that game on a very neutral court. But I wouldn't mind a rematch. And maybe Florida, maybe.
Yeah.
Not Duke. Duke doesn't do that to me.
Yeah.
Bama doesn't.
Yeah.
Tennessee sure doesn't. Houston doesn't.
Yeah.
So maybe one or two don't want to play them.
Sure. Yeah, well, and hey.
But when you play them, fine.
Yeah.
No matter what happens.
Yeah, well, those two
fit
the bill. I mean, Auburn and Florida, I don't think there's many teams out there that want to play either of those teams.
That's the top of the heap.
Yeah, exactly.
25, my big number as well. 25 years since the Big Ten last won a national championship. Tom Izzo and crew in 2000. And I think Michigan State is the only shot for the Big Ten to win it all this year.
Yeah.
I know they're enjoying football, and they should.
Sure.
2 years in a row with Michigan and Ohio State. They were the best teams.
Yeah.
They won it fair and square, all that. Everybody concedes that.
Absolutely.
They had a commissioner years ago, Jim Delaney, said his quote, not mine, are real sports basketball. Hadn't won it since 2000.
No.
SEC hadn't won it since 2012. That ain't 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm with you. I think
SEC's won it 3 times since the Big Ten last won it.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it. I mean, Michigan State, sure, I could see them, doing something, but behind that, I mean, who can
I can
really
see them maybe
there?
getting there. I don't see them winning at all.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see them going on a run though. Behind that, Maryland.
No.
Michigan?
You can win some games.
Sure, but
maybe an Elite 8 team out of one of those two, maybe.
Maybe. but I don't.
Illinois, no.
No, I mean Wisconsin. I don't really trust many of these teams in the Big Ten. So I think it's.
Purdue's year was last year.
It was. I mean, now without Edie, I mean, they're still a good team, but I think they're missing a lot from what Edie gave them. So I mean,
Oregon new to the Big Ten, no.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not a huge Oregon fan this year with their team. I mean, they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see
Indiana
them
limping in.
Oh man, yeah.
If they get in,
yeah, I want a Indiana ban on the on the NCAA tournament. Keep Indiana out of the NCAA tournament this year. I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe Texas is our hope.
Ohio State needs to beat Iowa at the next game at the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, no, that's a huge game for them because you're right. I mean, Joe Lunardi, I was just learning, I think Ohio State's the last team in on his updated bracket. So that's a team that is going to be playing desperate, going to be trying to win these games to put themselves in a better spot for Selection Sunday.
Odd game, last game of the session tonight in Chicago, and we're getting ready to go. I'm sorry, in Indianapolis. We're getting ready to go there and visit with Kevin Sweeney. USC and Rutgers, you take those two teams and you have pickup basketball, a lot of those guys get picked before a lot of good players on other teams.
Certainly. I mean, heck, you're going to have two guys on Rutgers that are picked in the first 5 picks of the NBA draft coming up in a couple of months. And, playing in that last game, Rutgers, a team that, last week we talked to Kevin Sweeney and I asked him, are we sure Rutgers is even going to get into the Big Ten tournament? Now, they did get in and play in this USC team. Rutgers has the better seed with some stuff happened over the weekend. But, yeah, I mean, just 2 really, really bad seasons. I mean, you look at in-conference play, Rutgers 8-12, USC only 7-13.
Really poor coaching job.
Yeah, it really has been. And so that's going to be a game I'm gonna have it on. That's gonna be one I'm watching. But so
we blamed it all on Bronny and Andy Enfield last year. It wasn't their fault.
It wasn't their faults. No, and now Andy Enfield, he's got a big game tonight for SMU against Syracuse, team they struggled against a couple weeks ago.
Wait a second. SMU's playing Syracuse tonight.
In the ACC tournament there, Brett.
I got it. Thanks.
Yeah, you getting everything.
Hey, I was right yesterday. TCU was in CUSA
Were they really?
early 21st century.
Wow,
yeah.
I did not know that. That is news to me.
A person tweeted at me that I was right about it.
Holy
Thank you,
cow.
Tweeter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Xer, whatever you are.
Ever like to doubt you because I mean you know your stuff.
I was stumbling around. I wasn't so sure.
And so then when you were like, I don't know if that was true, I was like, I mean, I don't know. That'd be news to me. So, wow, how about that? Hey, TCU. I mean, our old neighbors. And now SMU down there with right there across the street, that rivalry.
I know the Tigers have never been in a league with Syracuse. I know I can say that.
Yes,
emphatically.
we can say that. But
briefly were they Big East,
close,
Brett, but they never played.
They never played. I think Syracuse left before it was officially together, but they were gonna be, but not so fast. A lot of good games coming up the rest of the day. It's gonna be a really good night of college basketball, and that will carry over into tomorrow when a lot more of these, the better teams start getting the conference slate started. Again, we're gonna have Ole Miss basketball here tomorrow. That's a noon game, pregame starting at 11:30. You can listen to that game right here on Sports 56. Let's get to another break, and when we return to start our third and final hour, we're heading up to the Big Ten tournament. Kevin Sweeney from Sports Illustrated, he joins us every week to talk college basketball. He'll join us. We'll talk Big Ten, but we'll also talk all things college basketball. Kevin Sweeney, he joins us next.
From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and the staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Buying a home used to feel like a complete headache. Listings here, pre-approval there, financing somewhere else. Now, Rocket is giving every home one address. Rocket.com. A single, seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, and refinance your home. Everything you need, all under one roof. Visit Rocket.com, the new home for all things homeownership. Rocket, own the dream.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time somebody has recognized me as the spokesperson for Central Barbecue,
one of the spokespersons,
one of the spokespeople, I wouldn't have a nickel because we do these for the radio. But I'm proud to be the spokesperson for Central Barbecue.
one of the...
You know what I mean? I'm proud because all of us who do this have had to do ads for things we didn't necessarily believe in.
Yeah, I know I have.
I know you have too.
Hey.
But we get to tell everyone about Central Barbecue, the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
240 east from Mill Branch all the way out to 385 as that starts to crank up, headed out towards Collierville on 240 there as you get on to 385. Again, expect that to run slow for the next 15-20 minutes. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is original sports station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Plus. Once again, Brett Northworthy and Brian Davis.
Say you stand by your man.
Welcome back in to Sports Time.
That's us. That's us.
I'm tripping. Oh, this game has confused me because we were just talking, 2 segments ago, around 4:30, 4:35, we're talking about 20-point game. Texas is going to walk to the next round. You look up now, and it's a 7-point game.
Got to land the airplane.
You got to land the airplane. Now there's only a minute left, minute and some change left, so, Texas should be able to land the plane, but
if they don't, Rodney Terry doesn't get on the plane.
Oh, no. Yeah, it would. We have been talking about for a while. It feels like Rodney Terry's done. Really, no matter what. Obviously, if they pull off something crazy and make the tournament and win a couple games, then maybe that's a different conversation. I don't know, but certainly
if they're really cheering for that.
I doubt they are. If we're just being honest, like the world of hiring and firing coaches, you kind of get in a pickle.
25 years ago, right now, Arkansas in Atlanta, just a really lackluster year. They have a deal. It was struck to get Bill Self.
Oh, wow.
It's done. They go on a 4-game, 4-day wild win, get the automatic, go to the regional in Nashville, lose pretty ingloriously to UNLV. Had to re-up with Coach Richardson.
Yeah.
Just won a national championship 6 years before that. They had a deal set for Bill Self at Tulsa.
Yeah. Wow. That's insane. That's insane.
And there were people that weekend going, I like this, but I don't know how much I like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're kind of
it's like the players in the NBA. They never tank. It's always management.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. But it feels like it's going to be over for Rodney Terry. Certainly, if they can't get this done. I think, and I was trying to find the here it is. I mean, Mike Woodson, what's going on right now up there with him? I mean, after his final home game, he says, maybe I'm retiring too early. Maybe it's too soon for me. And that's a guy that everybody in the world was like, yeah, that's not working. They get hot late in the
resignation
season.
has been accepted.
It has been accepted, and we've already announced it. But I knew it was coming. I mean, right when they started winning games and they're back on the bubble and now they're in, I'm going, something's going to happen where Mike Woodson says, hey, you know what? Maybe this was a bad decision. Maybe I should keep coaching. And here we are. We have it.
It happens every year. Somebody does. A year ago, Kevin Keats, he was done.
Oh, yeah.
Gets on the road, the ACC, goes all the way to the Final Four, and they had to re-up with him.
And now we see, what happened now with, he's done and they're done. And
the most famous was when Bill Frieder at Michigan accepted the Arizona State job, but had a bid to the tournament. Bo Schembechler, famous hothead, said, "You're not coaching Michigan. You go take the Arizona State job now," and hired Steve Fisher, and he went on a 6-game run and won it all.
Wow.
In '89 in Seattle.
Holy cow! Yeah.
Now, they really didn't get stuck with him. I don't know if they were that set on keeping him, and he did a good job. Later, did a good job at San Diego State, but after you win a national championship, you keep them. I think Indiana State, Larry Bird's year, they had a guy, maybe a coach was ill, and Bill Hodges took over, and he had Larry Bird and wrote at Salt Lake City, and they had to keep him.
It's a good player to have, if you're trying to keep a job, it's a good guy to have in your corner. But no, I mean, we'll see what happens here. We're in an official review. They're reviewing to see if they need to hand out a tech. Elbow that went a little high, 74-67 the score right now with Texas on top. We're going to catch up here in a second with Kevin Sweeney. He's up at the Big Ten tournament.
Busy.
Obviously very busy, and we're very grateful that he's going to join us this afternoon with everything he's got going on with the Big Ten tournament right now. But we were talking about earlier, really good night of basketball tonight. Once this game ends, a little bit after that, we'll have the night session out in Nashville. LSU, Mississippi State will start it, and then that final game, Oklahoma and Georgia, a game that I think is really interesting because I think both teams right now in, but you're a little more uncomfortable if you're the team that loses tonight.
You want to add a little more.
You certainly would like that, and that's certainly what Texas wants to do right now against Vanderbilt. Oklahoma and Georgia, both of those teams would definitely like to add another win and continue rolling into the next round. UCF Kansas could be an interesting game tonight in the Big 12. UCF down 1 last night at halftime. Ended up winning that game over Utah by 20. Felt like Utah, they had already made the decision on head coach. They're going to go a different direction this offseason. Felt like they weren't going to be able to make much noise at all in the conference tournament. But then on the other side, Kansas of this game tonight, another team, we talked about it with Mississippi State, a Kansas team that preseason #1 team in the country, and really late in the season just going in the wrong direction. And so, they're in right now, but they would definitely like to get a win over UCF. They're a 10.5 point favorite. I think they get it tonight.
I was looking at Kansas's resume, profile, record, wins, all that. I don't know that I really remember until I looked it up today. On New Year's Eve, they lost at home to West Virginia.
That's right, West Virginia, yeah.
Wow, you did know.
Yeah, I watched that game. Well, I watched it.
That's good.
I think I had money on it. I can't tell.
Yeah,
I can't remember if I had money on it.
Whatever you did, you watched it.
But I can tell you I watched it. But now
I can tell you I didn't know it existed.
That was also UAB and North Texas played that day.
Okay.
I was watching that game as well.
Very good.
I don't know why I remember these things, but
I love you, Brian. That's great.
I remember the oddest of things, but no, I mean, this is just back-to-back years where Kansas comes in and they're Kansas. It's Bill Self. Obviously, you gotta show them some respect, but it's back-to-back years where It's just not very good.
How much respect do you have to show them, though?
I think you have to because, one, you have the national champion head coach. And
7 seed, same as the Tigers, according to Shelby. That's a little too much respect or lack of for Memphis.
Yeah, well, but, and I'm more talking about going into the season, when they were the number one team in the country.
They always win the preseason.
Of course, and it's because they have that national championship head coach. They bring in the recruiting classes every year and the big-time transfer portal. I mean, they're always going to be there, but now...
Peach Basket practically was raised there.
Sure was, but now, you look up and it's two seasons where they've really struggled in conference play. And so, you said Shelby Mass has them as a 7 on their bracket. That's a tough first game.
Here's Shelby 7s: Memphis Tigers, Gonzaga. We talked a lot about them. Kansas and Marquette. If you rank those 4, we know who the number 1 7 is.
Yeah, it's Memphis.
It is by body of work, not hometown homer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is, and so, I think Kansas, needs to win
as opposed to out of town homer.
Sure, well, it's rare you get an out of town homer, but no, I mean, I think Kansas, they can improve a seed line if they go out there and run the table in the Big 12. I mean, they can improve a seed line just because they're going to face some quad 1 opponents if they get those wins. I think they can do it, but they haven't shown anything, as of late to say that they can beat some of these best teams.
And then the NCAA pods them to Wichita.
Of course, and home court, man. I mean, it's going to be all the Kansas faithful coming out to Wichita.
Really?
They can have Wichita. You send them to Wichita. I don't want to go anywhere.
They always, most of the time, they earn it. But they usually, to most all the time, get the cozy pod.
Of course. It's Kansas. You got to respect them.
Most of the time deserve, but not always.
Not always.
And that gets aggravating because, I mean, even they should get punished every now and then.
Yeah. No, they should. Back up into Nashville. Texas, they're pulling away here late. 28 seconds left. A.J. Hoggard just fouled out. 77-68 the final score, or not the final score, but with 28 seconds left. It looks like Texas is going to win this game. They'll advance. They'll see Texas A&M tomorrow, and that will be a fun one. The fans will love that matchup in an SEC tournament.
Afternoon session, we'll have some spice, won't it?
Yeah.
Rebels and Razorbacks, Aggies and Longhorns.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, we knew.
About all you got to say.
Yes, we knew going into it, before we even knew what teams were going to be what seeds and who was going to be playing who, we knew that the SEC tournament, every game was going to be fun to watch. And now you look, these first 2 games have been intriguing. I think they're going to get better in this night session, and then you start tomorrow and look out. It's going to be a ton of fun.
And Texas fans, and I'm sure A&M from past animosity, might join up and pull for Arkansas against Beard.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. I think probably will. I think you're going to see a lot of that of, teams, their fan bases trying to kind of figure out, all right, who do we want to see? How do we want this breakout? And then getting out there and cheering for that team.
The buildings, and they almost always at the NCAA tournament turn on the bigger name, higher, better seed against the upset type teams. In 1995, Arkansas, they had left the Southwest Conference a few years before it.
Yeah.
And they go, the Tigers were there to early games in Austin, and the Texas fans that had bought, a big block of tickets for all the sessions, they got their money's worth on the Razorbacks. And Razorback fans came back going, man, they really hate us over leaving the Southwest Conference. And all these many years later, look where they are.
That's right. Right back like they never left. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have Kevin Sweeney with us now. Kevin joins us every week from Sports Illustrated. Make sure you go give him a follow on social media at CBB_Central. He is...
Man is working.
He is working. He's up in Indianapolis at the Big Ten tournament. He just saw Northwestern get a 72-64 win over Minnesota. Kevin, how are things up in the Big Ten tournament?
Very good. Chris Collins, Northwestern, just kind of reamed out the league. They're staying in a hotel that has no AC, apparently, or the AC's broken, so their rooms were like 85 degrees. It was a whole chaos scene. So the Cats are moving on despite the hot rooms. They're back to the sauna for another night.
Well, good win for them, and a tournament that a lot of people have a lot of eyes on Indiana. Do you think Indiana You think they're in, or they have work to do?
I think they're in today. I think it gets messy if they lose, especially if we get a couple of bid stealers over the next couple of days. They'll have a huge crowd tomorrow here, like here in Indy with Oregon, and see if they can find a way to scrap and claw their way to one more win. I think one more win not only puts them in, but probably makes them avoid Dayton and get them right into the round of 64.
Give me your best reporting on leader in the clubhouse to be the coach at Indiana after Mike Woodson.
I think that the name you hear the most right now, and talking to my sources, is Ben McCollum, the head coach at Drake. He's obviously done a phenomenal job, 30 wins. I think the question with him is kind of dealing with all the other stuff, the NIL, the agents. Like, it's a different world than recruiting at D2 or even at Drake. So that's the big question right now. But if you were handicapping, I think right now he's the leader in the clubhouse.
Chris Beard, where would he rank?
I think, he's in the circle back list, right? They have a few more top targets. Ben is one of them. And if those guys all swing and miss, all of a sudden now I think maybe there's a little bit more willingness to deal with the baggage of Chris Beard. Right now I don't think it's a real conversation, but that could change very quickly.
What about at Texas? What can you report?
You hear about Will Wade. There's been some conversation about Illinois head coach Brad Underwood. His buyout's about $9 million, so it's high but doable if they want to still get him. Early on, there was a lot of conversation about Quinn Snyder, the Hawks head coach. As of now, I've been told that's not likely to happen, but Texas has a lot of money and can sway influence pretty quickly with that.
That would certainly be a massive hire if they could go and get him from
back in college.
Atlanta, back in hire. That would be
long way since Mizzou.
It sure has been. Kevin, when you look at the game tonight after this Ohio State-Iowa game in the Big Ten, USC and Rutgers, a USC team 15-16, 7-13 in Big Ten play. On the other side, Rutgers with their 2 first-round picks. 15-16, 8-12 in Big Ten play. Very disappointing season for both of these teams. What went wrong for both?
Look, I think both teams had so much work to do on their rosters in the spring, and the pieces never really meshed together. For USC, it's lack of point guard. They've really struggled with just kind of taking care of the ball, getting into offense, and then Rutgers, I thought their role players around Ace and Dillon, like you needed low usage guys that could defend and shoot threes, and they have more kind of traditional Pikel guys, tough dudes that aren't necessarily great defensive, and not necessarily great offensively. Can't really space the floor, and it's hurt them. But I really think if they get going here, watch out, because those two guys are so talented. If they start feeling it, I think they can make a run and make things interesting here late in the weekend.
Yeah. Going back to the coaching side of things, Kevin Keatts out at NC State. What did you make of that decision, and who are some names? I've seen some NC State people wanting them or saying that they could go after Will Wade. What are you hearing for NC State?
I thought it was the right move to part with Keatts. I know, obviously, you make the Final Four. You should earn yourself a little bit of leash. But,
I agree with you.
What people don't really necessarily know, Kevin Keatts was straight up fired last spring. The conversations had happened, it was over. It was a matter of time. And then somehow they kept winning, and all of a sudden they're in the Final Four. It's I guess he's got to come back. So I think they've understood he's not the guy long term, and rather than sort of string it out, I think they decided it's better to pay him his money and move on. And I think the name you'll hear a lot is Ryan Odom, the head coach of VCU. Yeah. Obviously, his father, Dave, a legendary coach in that region of the country, and has a lot of relationships there. From what I've gathered, the boosters are most desiring Odom, but Odom has options. He could be the head coach of Virginia. He could be the head coach of NC State. He could be in the mix of Villanova when and if that opens here in the next couple of days. So if they miss on that front, then all of a sudden you start talking about the Will Wades and some other names that could potentially merge here over the next couple of days.
No way Will Wade stays at McNeese, is it?
You wouldn't think, especially given he has ties to VCU and could always go to VCU for a year or two if he swings and misses on some of these higher-level jobs. But I do think he'll be selective. At the end of the day, he's going to keep winning there as long as he's there and stay as a hot name. I know he really wants back in the SEC. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to monitor that one for sure.
So far, of the teams that have made the NCAA tournament, punched the ticket, what's your favorite story?
I think about Robert Morris, who I saw last night, and they transitioned up from the NEC to the Horizon. struggled with that transition for multiple years. Andy Toole entered this year on the hot seat. They were picked ninth and just have battled their way back with a hodgepodge group. They've got D2 transfers. They've got JUCO guys. They've got international kids. And they went from pick ninth to winning the league in the regular season and the tournament. They've done a phenomenal job. And they're a dangerous team because of the way that they play. Their bigs are a tough matchup for people.
And, of course, you were there last night to see it. That's good stuff, Kevin. How many games this week will you see in person?
10-ish, maybe 11. Depends on my schedule Saturday. But I'll be around, and then I'll head home before the Big Ten Championship to make sure I'm locked in on Selection Show Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. We usually start with you talking Memphis Tigers, but obviously with everything going on today, let's talk some Tigers. Right now, the big conversation here locally has been where they're at right now with all of these bracketologies. Joe Lenardi put out earlier this week, he has Memphis on the 8 line in his most recent bracketology. You see, Jerry Palm over at CBS Sports has them as a 6. We've talked about this before. It feels like that's the range, 6, anywhere between 6 and 8. Where do you think the Tigers are right now, and what would getting to the AAC championship, winning the AAC championship, how much would that help them move? Because there's been conversation around here, well, you're not going to see any quad 1. You could see a quad 2 if you make it to the championship game. What would this tournament do to help them? We know it can hurt them. How much can it help them? Where do you think they are right now? Where do you think they are right now in terms of brackets?
Yeah, I have him as an 8. I dropped him down from a 7 earlier today with the Gonzaga win late last night because now Gonzaga, with their elite performance metrics, becomes a little bit more attractive, even though their resume is a little soft. So, look, I think the biggest thing for Memphis is knowing how the committee operates. I think not taking another bad loss early in the week, if they can get themselves to Saturday or Sunday in that AAC tournament, I think the cake will sort of be baked, and there won't be a whole lot in terms of seeding that will change. Obviously the big difference would be the bid stealer situation. If anyone else in the AAC wins that conference tournament, that shrinks the bubble a little bit. So I don't think that would move Memphis too much if they're losing Saturday or Sunday, because the committee, I think, will have already kind of made up their minds on them. But it is the big thing to watch is that bid stealer opportunity.
Kevin, how prominent are November, December wins? What does that really mean to the committee?
I think they mean a lot. Like I think the committee does a really good job of trying to evaluate the overall body of work. I think a lot of times people complain that maybe conference tournament results don't mean enough, and part of that is because, look, it's one game out of 35, and we shouldn't be making decisions based on that. I do think people probably do forget and don't value enough what Memphis did early on. I think, beating Mizzou and Michigan State and all the teams that they were able to knock off. I mean, those are huge wins, and I think they deserve to be looked at positively, but I think they've done some damage here over the last couple weeks and months with the quad 3 losses and the lack of other opportunities to stack up that these SEC and Big Ten teams get every night.
I said about 35 minutes ago the only Big Ten team I thought that could win it all would be Michigan State. Am I right about that, or do you think there's another team that could win it all?
I think they're the most consistent team, and they've proven it against high-level competition. The one team I will point out that I think is like really, really dangerous if everything clicks is Illinois. I believe that all year. They've really turned it around since that Duke performance. I sort of doubt that they can win 6, but if they get rolling, watch out. I mean, they've changed their starting lineup since the Duke debacle and really found something with their rotations, and I think it's been really effective for them, and they're playing like a team that could make a serious run if they can keep this thing up.
If you think Chris Collins was mad over the air conditioning, wait till Mick Cronin hits town.
If they're stuck in the Sheraton in Indianapolis, they might be complaining too. So it's apparently it's quite the situation down there.
He's been mad over everything: tip times, travel, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. Mick is a great basketball coach and a perpetually miserable person. And that's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
He absolutely is.
He's perfected it.
Yes, he has. Kevin, last thing for you. Kansas, they go later tonight in the Big 12 tournament against UCF, who got a big win last night over Utah. What do you make of this Kansas team right now? How far do you see them going with kind of the struggles we've seen them have late into the regular season?
The one thing I will say is Hunter Dickinson has been incredible the last couple weeks. Has really kind of hit that like these are my last college games, let's go do it mentality. And I think they're dangerous if, he's continuing to play at a high level. They are flawed, without question. I mean, the lack of shooting is a huge problem. The roster construction is not great. But I still won't be surprised if they're at least in the second weekend. I'm not sure I see a Final Four. But Bill Self's got a couple tricks up his sleeve still. I'm not counting them out.
I will probably ask you this again next week when we had bracket in hand, but not last year. But who is 2 years ago UConn? We knew they were good. We didn't know they were that good, and they went out and bulldozed everyone 2 years ago and then repeated last year. So kind of who's the profile of UConn from 23?
That's a great question. I know Florida will be a higher seed, but they've sort of flown somewhat under the radar to me just because there's been so much. It's Duke and Houston and everybody else, or Duke and Auburn and everybody else. And Florida sort of hovers as that 4th or 5th. And, to me, they're as good as anyone because of their size, their athleticism, their shot making. I think I talked to a coach the other day who said that Walter Clayton's the best point guard in the country. I'm not sure I buy that, but it's pretty close. And they're just a scary team when they're playing really well.
Wasn't Clayton with Pitino?
He was, yeah, and he chose Florida over St. John's when Pitino left, which was a huge decision and a big one for the Gators.
Yeah, absolutely. Really huge for him. Well, Kevin, as always, thank you so much for joining us, especially today. I know how busy you are up there with the Big Ten tournament. Enjoy it this weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thank you very much.
Kevin Sweeney joining us to talk all things college basketball, and he's going to get some good games later this week. Right now, Iowa and Ohio State tied 8-8 with about 12 minutes left in the first half.
Ohio State, very bubble.
Very bubble. They need a win. They cannot afford a loss today, and you got it.
Iowa needs a coffee table book run.
Yeah, they got it. They got to go on a big one. But you got to love the first couple of rounds of the Big Ten and the Big East. All games on Peacock. So good luck finding that. You got to go stream it. I know for you that would be.
You have to tell me all about it.
Yes. I'll have to break down all these games for you. I've not watched one of them yet. I'll probably watch one tonight on Peacock, but I have not yet today. As always, thanks a lot to Kevin Sweeney. We're going to get to a break here in a second. Before we do that, let me remind you about Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984, and their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Go online to jaguarbluffcity.com. But head out there and test drive these beautiful vehicles. 6335 Will Cove, just off of Quince, for Bluff City Jaguar. Let's get to another break, and when we return, we're heading back out to the SEC tournament up in Nashville. Blake Lovell from the Southeastern 16, he joins us next.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With two big airlines and the largest match ovens in the Mid-South, Briggs can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Briggs Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Briggs Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or BriggsPowderCoating.com.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse Plus, where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break the sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop. A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Wally Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelets, breakfast Sammies, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf are one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
This traffic report brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Still busy over here on 240 Eastern Mill Branch, out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway as that starts to load up a little bit more volume out towards, let's say, Collierville as it gets busy. 240 East at Poplar, coming out of Midtown. Hadn't been too bad. I-40 around Chelsea. Hey, your lawn needs some help this time of the year? Don't worry, you're not alone. Over 30 years experience. Yes, I'm talking about Lawn Solutions. Give them a call at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. So we got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and joining us now from the SEC tournament in Nashville, Blake Lovell from the Southeastern 16. He joins us to talk SEC. Blake, 2 down, 2 more to go in day one of the SEC tournament. Let's start with that first game, Arkansas and South Carolina. It was hard to believe that Arkansas could play any worse in the first half than they did earlier this month. They were much better, got out to a big lead, but then it was the second half where they really struggled. Went about a 10-minute stretch where they did not have a single made field goal, able to do enough at the end to win that game. What did you see in that matchup from Arkansas to pull out that win late?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it was kind of something where you just have to take better shots. And, I mean, I felt like they kind of put themselves in a position where they took some rough shots there a couple times. I mean, I don't think Arkansas is a team that's necessarily known for the three, and I felt like they were kind of getting a little too happy with those there for a bit, and I think once that changed a little bit, they were able to get some stops. And I mean, that's the thing, is even for some of the struggles that Arkansas had offensively late in that game, I mean, they were playing the team that had been the worst team in the SEC in terms of just their offensive efficiency numbers and all that. So I think it's kind of a situation where, Arkansas had the lead, got a little comfortable, thought they could sort of play a different way than got them the lead, and still found a way in the end to pull it out. So.
And Blake could have had one eye on tomorrow at noon in Nashville, because with the 7 players that played, and here are the minutes totals: 17, 23, 38, 36, 35, 26, and 25. How much will be in the tank for playing the Ole Miss Rebels tomorrow for Arkansas?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think it's just sort of, again, kind of just looking at the nature of how teams approach this tournament. We said that was going to be a story all week long, and I mean, everyone knows Cal's thoughts on the tournament. He's made it very obvious at this point. But I think it is one where, for Arkansas, I'm not a bracketologist, but I think that this was sort of one where, if you just win the game, I think you're in good shape. Yeah. And, they found a way to win the game, and really anything from here on out, I don't know, affects them, all that much. Sure, if they won tomorrow, maybe won again on Friday, you may see them get bumped up, maybe a seed, maybe. And that's just, again, being optimistic. So, yeah, I think overall, though, I mean, to me, this kind of, you remember what happened the first game, sort of gets in your head there down the stretch, and then, like you said, I think the way Cal played it, probably okay, despite the fact they got a little sloppy there at the end.
Well, it's a great setup by him. If he wins tomorrow, maybe even springs the upset against Auburn, it's just fighting Cal and great coaching. And if they lose, he can say, I don't care about these games.
Right, exactly.
What a deal.
If you keep losing, it's fine. So, no, and I think it is one of those kind of situations, where I'm sure if we polled every SEC coach, and said you were in the same spot that Arkansas was in, it's like, all right, do you care about the tournament? Not, but again, it's not just as though this is new for Cal. He's been talking about this for years, and like you said, it's a good spot to be in because, it's never going to be on the players. It's just always going to be on, all right, well, we just didn't really, we lost, and it's not like it really means a whole lot and all that. So,
yeah. How about this note I'm getting from someone at Nashville at the tournament that works with SEC? 13 Cleveland Cavaliers came to the Vandy, Texas game because of Darius Garland to stop over here, and they practiced at Vandy on their way to Memphis to play the Grizzlies on Friday. What a testament to him.
Yeah, no, they were, right there beside us. Darius Garland and Tristan Thompson were kind of posted up there, and, I mean, it is, again, kind of something where you kind of think back and you remember, right, like Darius Garland was supposed to be the person that was going to turn Vanderbilt around, Vanderbilt basketball, and we just had the bad injury luck right off the bat, and Vanderbilt fans never really got a chance to experience him. As a 30-plus game player with them, they always knew he was going to go pro. But yeah, like it is kind of what happens if he's not having the injuries when he was at Vanderbilt, and is Bryce Drew still there, and how much have they accomplished? Like, it's always interesting to play that what-if game. So.
More fun to look to these two games tomorrow or to sneak ahead and look to Thursday games?
Yeah, I think these two games tonight to me are just sort of, they're interesting. I would think Mississippi State's going to handle LSU. I think Georgia Oklahoma was fascinating, just like Vanderbilt Texas was. But I think for tomorrow, I think in any sort of combination, you're looking at a lot of fun games tomorrow. Like we said, with Arkansas going up against an Ole Miss team, I think they would love just to keep playing better. I don't feel like, they're probably sitting here thinking they're playing their overall best basketball at the moment. So I think it's important for them to feel like they can kind of get back on track a little bit. And then, of course, Texas and Texas A&M. I mean, that second game they played was ridiculous. And, knowing what's at stake for Texas, and then all the potential matchups, right? If you get a Missouri, Mississippi State, if you get a Kentucky, whoever in that instance, I mean, you just got, the high-scoring offensive teams at the bottom. You've got some of these stingy defensive teams at the top, like Ole Miss and A&M, and that does kind of set up a pretty interesting dynamic in these games, no matter who's playing tomorrow.
Yeah, it absolutely does. You mentioned Texas, and what does that win today over Vanderbilt do for them in terms of the NCAA tournament? I know going into the game today, they threw it up on SEC Network multiple times leading into it, that right now Joe Lunardi has Texas in his first four out. What did a win today over Vanderbilt do in your mind? What would a win? I think certainly a win tomorrow over Texas A&M, they'd be feeling pretty good. What did today's win do for them?
Yeah, I mean, I almost, in some sense, wonder if Joe Lunardi is being optimistic because to me, the difference between Texas and Oklahoma is very clear. Like, Texas just had no non-conference resume to speak of. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, people may look at it and say, well, man, how does maybe for some people Oklahoma that far ahead of Texas? It's that reason alone. I mean, Oklahoma had 3 great, non-conference wins, and Texas just doesn't have that. And I think, beating Vanderbilt on a neutral court, that's a significant win. Is it enough to maybe catapult them over some of these other teams right now? I'm not sure. I would maybe guess that at best it moves them up a spot or 2 potentially, which may be all they need, right? And, if you lose tomorrow, I don't think it's like they're going to get knocked for it. I just don't, there's not going to be a huge impact even if they lose the game tomorrow, as long as they don't lose by 15, 20, something like that. But so it's going to be interesting with them, and I think that's where, again, the non-conference strength of schedule, those things we always talk about. I think they're definitely going to come into play. And as always, I mean, it's what does the committee value more? Are they more intent on putting in a Texas that may have, the record they had in SEC play, and they got one extra win in, the tournament against Vanderbilt, who's not a bubble team, but probably a 10 seed? Is that enough to say, all right, they should get the nod over, let's say, a Boise State or someone like that in the Mountain West? I think it's going to be an interesting discussion, just as it always is.
Mississippi State, they've got to get some defensive intensity back, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've said, guys, I think one of the more surprising stats to me all year is how poorly they've defended three.
Shocking.
Right? I mean, they have given up some astronomical numbers from three this year, and that's just been one of these things where I'm like, how does that happen with Chris Jans, right? I mean, he's always been someone that they've done such a good job on the defensive side, and, man, there are just teams that have come out. And don't get me wrong, like, there have been hot shooting teams that have come out and done that against them. I mean, it's just, hey, sometimes you just play teams that can make shots, and as we know, there are a lot of those in the SEC right now. But I think overall, though, it's got to get better, because if it doesn't, I mean, you're looking at a team that I would say most likely right now is in that 8-9 game or something. And, if you don't draw a UConn or something like that, well, then you're going to have to, in the second round, end up playing someone, a 1 seed, whoever that might be. And I just don't think it matches up very well. So.
No, it definitely does not. It feels like the late night game tonight, Oklahoma, Georgia, two teams that are right there on the bubble. It feels like you win, you feel pretty good, you lose, maybe a little nervous heading into Selection Sunday.
Yeah, and that's where, I think Georgia is going to be okay. I think Oklahoma, and this may be it for them, right? I mean, we said I don't know if Texas, it's enough for them just to win this game, but I think for Georgia it may be. I mean, for Oklahoma it may be, because I think if Oklahoma just wins this one, I feel like it is a decent enough setup for them to feel like, all right, we know what our record was, but to beat a Georgia team who, again, is probably in a better position than they were a week ago or whatever, right? You feel like that's a better. So, kind of want. I think that's where this whole thing is going to get so interesting, because you just don't know, because each committee's different. Like, it's not like every single year the exact same thing is necessarily graded the same way. But I do think if Oklahoma wins tonight, I feel like it's probably going to be hard to leave them out, just because look how well Georgia's been playing, and they've sort of, I think, done a good job raising their profile. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to go those guys just with this game. It should be a really good game, I would think.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Earlier today, we were talking with Vince Ferrara from Knoxville, and all week I've kind of been talking about, man, look at these three teams that are all kind of battling for that final number 1 seed. You got Florida, you've got Alabama, you've got Tennessee. It feels like all three of those teams are going to want to make some noise this week in Nashville to try to get that number 1 seed. And Vince kind of had a different approach of it. He said, if you get that last number 1 seed, you're probably going out to San Francisco, and you're in that region. And do you really want have that for fans when if you're the 2 seed, yeah, probably a little tougher in terms of the road to get to the Final Four, but you'll probably be a little bit closer, have more of your fans there. How many teams do you think this week at the SEC tournament are going to say, look, we've done everything in the regular season. We'd rather lose a game here and then have all this time off to rest instead of playing what will be these gauntlet of games against these other great SEC teams?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not the worst idea in the world, right? I feel like it is sort of a scenario where, I mean, you're weighing like how much more upside is there, and again, yeah, you're always going to feel like you're in the better position as a 1 seed, but I just think overall though, right? It's, I mean, if you're a 2, if you're a 1, and you're going to have to beat good teams to advance along the way. And certainly, I think when you just, we always compare, it's like, well, how do the 1 seeds compare to the 2 seeds this year? And, I mean, I think both groups are pretty strong, no matter where you're at in that number. And I think it's probably also just a matter of, you want to avoid some of those, you probably want to avoid Duke. Like, I know they play in the ACC, and I know people will say this or that about them, but, like, I wouldn't want to be in the same, spot as them. Yeah. Like, it just, no part of it probably. So it's like, getting a 1 seed keeps you away from them, and Houston and just I think teams like that. So it is, I think, an interesting balance, especially now. We talk about just what does the conference tournament mean overall in terms of value. I personally think each year it's sort of devalued more and more. And I think, if we keep expanding the tournament, which we know is going to happen, I think that'll only kind of magnify that. But who knows, right? It's just, again, the committee, there's just not that consistency to really know with Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee, is there a huge impact, or do they say, hey, you guys thought it was, but it really didn't mean anything no matter what happens this week? Like, that's just, those are the things that's always kind of hard to figure out, it seems.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun this week in Nashville. The two games we've gotten have already been intriguing. It's only going to get more exciting as we get into the weekend. Blake, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy this weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Blake.
Blake Lovell joining us each and every week.
Only 2 games down, a lot to go for him.
A lot to go, yeah. Hope you got a lot of energy left in the tank. But, I mean, both fun games. Arkansas having to pull that one out late with the South Carolina comeback in the second half. The second one was more Texas in control pretty much the entire game. You had that little late run by Vanderbilt. But it feels like, these 2 games tonight, I think this is a great opportunity, kind of a get-well game for Mississippi State against LSU. But I'm super excited for the 8:30 game. Oklahoma and Georgia, that feels like it's going to be a really fun one.
At every SEC event, because they're such a great sponsor, it's just Dr. Pepper is the only soft drink you can get to. I'm not a fan. My brother loves them. I call it cold cough syrup is what I think Dr. Pepper
Connor
is.
loves Dr. Pepper. He's a huge Dr. Pepper guy.
You're going to have to be loaded up for these late-night games.
Yeah.
The next 3 nights, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Drink whatever has caffeine in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those. But it's going to be fun. I mean, all the games are going to be entertaining, and now we know what at least the first 2 games will look like tomorrow. Arkansas, Ole Miss. That game will start at noon on SEC Network. We'll have coverage of that game right here on Sports 56 with pregame starting at 11:30. 2:30, we'll have Texas A&M and Texas around 2:30. We know it will depend on how that first game goes between Arkansas and Ole Miss. And then you look a little bit further, the winner of that first game, Arkansas, Ole Miss, they'll see Auburn the next day, and then Tennessee will face the winner of Texas and Texas A&M. So we're getting a little bit of a better idea who those teams on Friday will face in their first game. But let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day, and when we return, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Progressive knows owning a home can be hard, but not always. Like when you're relaxing on your patio, enjoying a nice, quiet evening. So quiet. Except for the sound of the neighbor's party. Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy. And you're quiet right on the patio. That's not exactly busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance is the easiest part of owning a home. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them at 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG,
high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
It's putt-putt time. The weather is getting right for a little time outside. Putt-putt Golf and Games Driving Range is a good place to be. At Putt-putt Driving Range, $10 get you a small bucket of balls, use of the chin and putting greens, and Tom Tracer. Even senior rates available. Putt-putt Golf and Games Driving Range. 84 Summer Avenue. Putt-putt Driving Range. 901-386-2992. Putt-putt Driving Range. It's putt-putt time.
Grizzlies' run to the home stretch of the regular season continues tonight at FedEx Forum against the Utah Jazz. Tickets for the 7 p.m. tip-off are available now at Grizzlies.com or the FedEx Forum box office.
Corky's barbecue. Cooking it up. Down home way. Hickory smoke flavor like a good old day.
Jimmy Stone over here with Corky's Barbecue. Catering is our specialty. Millions of trusted Corky's to cater their events for 40 years. Because we make it easy to eat and delicious for your guests. Whether it's 50 people or thousands, our experienced team comes to your location, sets up, serves, and ensures everyone enjoys Corky's all-you-can-eat barbecue buffet, starting at only $7.99 per person. You can't beat it. With 40 years of experience, it's easy to see why customers choose Corky's time and time again for all of their catering needs. Visit Corky'sBBQ.com to place your next order.
Encore flavor. Corky's barbecue.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's naming his price. He wants a contract worth $500 million, but here's the caveat. He does not want deferrals. He said, give me my money. I'm worth this money. I want it right now, and I can't blame him. But with what we're seeing, with what the Dodgers have done, what some other teams are starting to do, there are a lot of good teams that want to load up on these superstars, and they want to give them contracts with deferrals. It was reported earlier that the final offer the Blue Jays gave was around $500 million, that threshold that he wants, but it included significant deferrals, and we know now that relationship not really on good terms right now between Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Blue Jays organization. He'll play this season, but it will be a hot offseason to see where he lands.
Yeah, and he could end up with Landon's New York Mets.
He could. Mets.
Let's go Mets.
Landon's
right. He's telling me that I got my favorite player now. Brandon Nimmo is my favorite player.
And my favorite all-time player is Darryl Strawberry.
That's a good one pick. I mean,
should have been Keith Hernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear that's what started the rivalry between the Cardinals and the Mets.
Exactly what
he's learning. I mean, he spent the entire show just looking up Mets history.
Gave him away for for just Neil Allen in return. I detested Neil Allen. I loved Keith Hernandez. I like to tell y'all about my wild night out one night in Memphis with Keith Hernandez.
I've heard about it. It was a wild night.
Everybody's sick to death of hearing it.
I can't wait.
Everybody's sick of hearing it. I learned today bubble teams did some work. North Carolina needed it. Texas needed it. They got it. Tonight, Ohio State needs it. Ongoing right now at the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis. If you want to make sure you're on that bracket Sunday, keep winning this week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I could have done without, I actually just saw this on social media, on Twitter, that today during the, I guess before the Arkansas-South Carolina game, they threw up a highlight tape of Arkansas. Great, let's get excited. Let's get excited for the game. Only problem? It's last year's highlight tape. It had guys from last year's team. I mean, I'm watching it. I see Joseph Pinion up there.
He's at Arkansas State now.
So, I mean, you think about it.
Devo Davis.
Sure did. I mean, think about this roster. I mean, very similar to a lot of teams, very similar to the Tigers. Only one guy from that team back, Trayvon Brazile. So, I mean, you're just seeing this.
That's fun.
I mean, how can that happen? A new head coach, new staff, new everybody. How in the world you press on the wrong button? Hey, let's delete all the videos from last year's SEC tournament when we get ready for the new one. That's funny.
I guarantee you that will get to Cal, and he'll be mad about it.
He will be.
I don't blame him, but he doesn't know about injured players.
Well, he doesn't talk to him, Brett.
He hadn't seen them.
He hadn't seen them.
He says that.
They get injured, he doesn't see them anymore.
I could have done it without this. I know all eyes on the SEC basketball tournament, but here's something that starts tomorrow. The brutality of the 10-week belt line that will be SEC baseball.
Yep.
You know, Chris Beard and a lot of SEC coaches talked about the 18-round heavyweight fight that the basketball schedule was. Try on playing 30.
Yeah.
3 every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's the SEC. It's no joke in any sport, and you definitely see it in basketball, and we'll see it starting this weekend with baseball. Where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me too. I'm headed to FedEx Forum right now for the Grizzlies in Utah. The Grizzlies in the 4 spot in seeding in the West right now. Denver the 2 with a tough home game tonight against Minnesota. Lakers off tonight. They're in the 3.
Yeah, it's going to be fun keeping an eye on all these college games and even the NBA games, certainly with the Grizzlies in action. But let's see. Beam me tonight. Oh, so many places you can beam. But I said it earlier. I'm really excited.
Big Sky?
I wanted to beam to the Big Sky, but I'll keep it a little more relevant for the show. I'll beam to this final game of the SEC tonight, Oklahoma and Georgia. It feels like the winner of that game feels very comfortable about getting to the NCAA tournament. The other team, though, it's going to be a little uncomfortable leading up to Sunday. I think a lot more uncomfortable for Oklahoma than Georgia, but certainly either of those teams that lose tonight, you do not want to be sitting there waiting till Sunday night to hear if your name is called. But yeah, how could you not beam to the Big Sky Championship game tonight? Montana and Northern Colorado, give me some.
Tomorrow starts the Tour Championship, right?
It does, yeah, wow.
At Sawgrass, we'll be watching.
What a great weekend.
It is. We'll be watching the Island Green 17. Also at noon tomorrow, we'll be watching see who the Tigers get at noon on Friday. Arkansas and Ole Miss tomorrow. Imperative for Ole Miss. Quick start.
Yep.
Knockout punch early. The longer they keep Arkansas in it, look out. But if they not dispatch them early, that's the way to do it because Arkansas is now in the tournament, and Cal says he doesn't care.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, the basketball is going to be great. I mean, it started this morning at 10:30, and it's going to be going until Sunday. But you're right, tomorrow at noon, Tiger fans going to be watching the American tournament to see who's that team they're going to be facing Friday afternoon. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Enjoy the night, whether it's watching college hoops or the NBA. Enjoy it all. If you're going to the Grizzlies, safe travels out there for their game against Utah. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.